Old school Pokemon here, back again with the PokeFlipz podcast, joined by my usual co-host, Catch 'em All Collectibles, Dan. And today, joining us for the first time, we've got a very special guest,
What?
Mr. PoNGa. How are you guys doing today?
Very well. How are you?
Doing
I'm
good, doing good.
I'm doing good. Excited to be on.
So we
Appreciate you joining us.
yeah, appreciate you being on here, PoNGa, and I do believe we have a first time face reveal. So what we like to do when we have a new guest on, introduce yourself. Who are you? What are you up to in the Pokemon sphere?
Yeah, so not exactly a first time review. I was on a few recap videos from Collecticon, but yeah, the first live I've been on. So uh, a little backstory about myself. Grew up with Pokemon like everyone else. I think I got out of it in the early 2000s. The last cards I had from my childhood collection were Aquapolis. So also collected Yu-Gi-Oh, things like MLB Showdown, which I know Radar always talks about. Then kind of fell out of it, but still played the games my whole life. And then Pokemon Go came out, got me huge back into Pokemon a lot, like a lot of other people. I played that game every single day. And then kind of got cards here and there. I remember my wife got me a Shining Legends ETB. I think it would have been my birthday in 2018, which funny enough, those were like $30 back then. Um, Opened that, pulled the YouTube, kind of got a little hooked there. Um, Opened cards here and there after that, and then late 2019, 2020, I got really back into cards. Went through my old collection, sports collection, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh collection. Got back into watching YouTube videos like Leonhardt, Pokerev, and actually a kind of out there channel, which is Phil's Polls. With Phil Hughes used to be an MLB baseball player, and he was opening a lot of hidden fates to try to pull the Charizard. So it kind of sucked me in there, and then obviously everything with the pandemic, got super deep into it. Found channels like Jake, Nick, Dan, all those people, and kind of got to where I am today, where I'm kind of a investor, collector, flipper, scalper, all the above. Kind of fit in all of those. So yeah,
Mostly scalper though, I believe.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Anything that'll make a quick buck, right?
Yeah. Very good to hear. Very nice to have you. As always, chat, feel free to chime in with questions. We are going to do a little bit of Houston recapping. I know I have my own channel. I did a recap of it hour long, as I always do. Anything you want to add, PoNGa? Anything I missed? I will apologize to Jake Smith. He was not the only one that was largely left out. I did shout him out at the end when I talked about our whole section. But he was consuming some IPAs with me late nights, and I think I left him out of all the bar recaps and the meal recaps, which I felt bad about. But yeah, what went on in Houston while we wait for some questions to come in from chat?
Yeah, I think Friday we had a really good time. We went out, consumed way too many IPAs, like you said. Dan doesn't know how to take no for an answer. He's a much larger man than I am, and he was making me keep up with him, which was a very dangerous game. But yeah, we had a good time Friday night, just hanging out with everyone, mostly people from our section that we were vending with. And then I think a few others when we went to the other bar till 2 a.m. when we closed it down. Um, Saturday morning was a really rough morning. For whatever reason, I was staying with Ray. For whatever reason, our hotel alarm went off at 6 a.m. And after that, I was pretty much up after that. So didn't really sleep much that day. Didn't sleep much Thursday night either because I left for the airport at like 4 a.m. But then Saturday was as busy as you could possibly imagine. It was really good for everyone. Just constantly someone at your table, people willing to spend money, which is always nice. It's nice to have the crowd, but it's always nice to have people willing to buy things. A lot of people asking for trades, which was really nice as well. Helped me move some illiquid things that I've had for quite a while into a much more modern PSA 10 type stuff. And then, Sunday wasn't as busy, but I think Dan covered it really well in his recap. People were still buying on Sunday as well, the people that were there. So overall, it was a really, really good CollectCon. I enjoyed it much more than Charlotte, which might be an unpopular opinion because of how many people I was able to to meet in Charlotte, but Houston was very busy and people willing to spend, so it was very good.
Yeah, I think it's.
You thought?
Oh,
Sorry, Dan.
I,
You thought it was busier than Charlotte?
I thought so, yeah, but it was also a much smaller venue, so there's a lot more uh, congestion, people having to kind of stop and look at your table because it was hard to walk through some of the aisleways. That, and we were also, I think, in a much better section. We were kind of like 2 rows in, a few rows back from the door. So we had like 1 row to our right when we were facing the entrance, and then the signatures over there. So we were pretty close to the front. So everyone had to pretty much pass us.
Awesome. That's good. Prime real estate right there.
Yeah, it was a nice setup, and I think I went to both Houston and Charlotte too. There's pros and there's cons to each. Like it's amazing when there's 5 sections worth of people. You get to see and meet that many more people all at once, but it's also kind of daunting too, right? Like certain people out of those 5 sections, I probably only interacted with for 30 seconds at a time. Like I said hi to them, introduced, and then didn't get to see them again because there's just I don't want to say too many people, but too many people to deeply interact with. I think when you go to one where it's just one section or half a section, whatever, you just get a lot more interaction with those same people. But yeah, a blast as always. Nick, we'll never forgive you for not having gone. But we did still have a good time without you. Some would argue maybe even better. I don't know. That I mean, I heard some people saying that maybe
Much
PoNGa.
better.
Yeah.
Wow.
Much better.
uh,
Thanks.
but no,
Makes me feel good
you
about myself.
you were actually missed. It was a good time, but you weren't missed that much. You were missed a little bit, but not too much. Just the right amount.
Okay. At least you thought about me a little bit while you were down there.
Uh,
Mm.
I don't think we have any
I
questions
had a
in yet. Yeah, go ahead.
nobody cares. Nobody cares. I had a pretty good weekend. The weekend of Houston Collecticon. I did my eBay live Friday night with Paradox Rift. That went well. It didn't go as well as 151 or Obsidian Flames. So I think a lot of people are still caught up on 151 right now. Paradox Rift sells very very slowly. Overall though, I really do like the set. It reminds me a lot of Fusion Strike. Not like the set itself, but the time frame where we had celebrations right before Fusion Strike, and everyone was still caught up with celebrations. Nobody cared about Fusion Strike. But I really do enjoy Fusion Strike. I opened a lot of boxes myself for the singles, and I really do enjoy the set. So I think long term that's gonna be a good set. And then Saturday night I did my Team Rocket box break. That went really really well too. I was happy with the turnout for that. So overall, I missed being in Houston, but I'm glad I did stay home and did those two lives.
Yeah, we actually ended up pulling up your Team Rocket box break at dinner on Saturday night. So we were watching a little bit, seeing what the packs were going to go for.
Nice, awesome. Get those additional views.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it.
And I think you ended up doing pretty well with that, right? You ended up making some money. At first, I thought it was first edition, and then some of the prices that I heard, I was like, "Ooh, he's gonna have a rough go with this," but it was unlimited.
Yes, it was an unlimited box. I did do well on that one. I got the box for a good price, luckily. I found it locally, for I think it was 7,000, and I forget what the total price was, but I did make money on it, which was good. That's the important part. Um,
Made money.
yeah, that was a lot of fun. The pack weighing did not go well whatsoever. Team Rocket is just such a tough set to weigh. I thought I had it good because I had exactly 12 packs that were 20.9 and above, and I ended up opening. I had two 21.0 packs that the people wanted to keep sealed. I opened I want to say like 8 of the 20.9 packs, and there were only 2 hollows in there. The rest were non-hollows, and most of the hollows were coming from 20.8 packs. So I think next time I'm gonna change things up and not even weigh it if I do another Team Rocket break.
Yeah, you got to watch out for Rocket base set 2. The ones that weigh really clean are like base, jungle, fossil. I can't really remember. I feel like the Neos way tough, and then the Neo Destiny, you have that dynamic where the Shinings will frequently come from light packs because they're not like a full hollow. So it's really
Yep.
only the first few sets that weigh super clean and easy.
Yeah.
I actually got one of my mid-weight jungle packs. I did a stream of my jungle box opening before I went to Houston. I sold, a guy wanted to rip in front of me, so I'm like, oh, here's a chance to kind of get rid of one of these mid-weight packs that I'm quite confident is a hollow, but I'm not 100% sure. I can't send someone away with it. I only had maybe 5 that I was 100% confident, 99.999% confident with. And so yeah, I sold a heavy guaranteed hollow. It ended up being a non-hollow, so that was just $250 or whatever down the drain. Had to give him a guaranteed hollow pack after that. So jungle is a tough one to break when you're trying to weigh it. Unweighed is the way to go with those ones.
Mm-hmm. What did
Yeah.
he end up pulling?
Ended up getting the Jolteon hollow. I forget what the non-hollow was, but yeah, solid hollow pull. I think in the non-hollow pack too,
Nice.
he had like an Eevee, Jigglypuff, Cubone. Like I don't think he got the Pikachu, but some of the mid tier commons and uncommons are really nice in jungle, more so than fossil for sure. Appreciate you, Java.
Yeah.
I see that 10 gifted memberships.
Yes, thank you, Java. I'm a member again.
You're not supposed to gift Nick.
Nick gets one
Remember
every
to
time.
disable these.
Nick gets one every time. I see Terry Lake got one. Pokemon Wonder. They had a great live last night. If anyone didn't check that out, I mean, don't hop out of here now. But if you're looking for more content to watch later on tonight or this weekend, go check out that live with Pokemon Wonder and Terry Lake. That was great last night.
That was a very, I didn't catch the live. I watched it this morning though. That was really good. Pokemon Wonder and Terry, you guys did a great job last night. I thoroughly enjoyed listening to that this morning.
It was definitely one of the better lives I've seen in a while.
And I will say, organizing it through chat, I haven't like DM'd Terry yet, but I will at some point. It's going to be fairly distant from now, given that we only have one guest per month. It's going to be probably a few months, but expect it. Little teaser. Sometime in 2024, early 2024, Terry Lake will hopefully grace the PokeFlipz podcast. But definitely, I mean, going from PoNGa, a couple months from now, having Terry, like we're really upping our game with the guests. We're been smashing out of the park lately.
We might have to rename it the Bullion Flippers podcast when we have Terry on.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's going to be a lot of the talk. Is a lot of silver, gold, and coins.
Yeah. We all have a lot of experience with that, and it's an interesting overlap. Yeah, Terry, no $10 fee to be on PokeFlipz or for the membership. That's Java's got you on the membership.
Oh man. So what have you guys been up to lately? Anything exciting? Anything new, noteworthy coming up for the holidays?
What are you flipping these days, PoNGa? What's your big plays? Spill them all. The time is now.
Yeah. I've been a little away from it since Houston. I got rid of basically all my graded inventory in Houston. Basically got rid of all my singles that I had bought in the past few months as well, and a lot of sealed as well. So I'm kind of trying to restock that. Haven't been listening too much lately, unfortunately, but still, I buy a lot of modern sealed, Japanese modern sealed, and then stick to the yeah, Dan there was holding up the classic box, which is entirely way too big for 3 decks, but maybe I'll go with grading some of those as well. Haven't decided that yet. I knew the Japanese one would be a good play, and easy to flip, but I actually ended up passing on that so far, at least. But yeah, just mainly grading modern Japanese because PSA 10s are participation trophies for that. So
Whoa,
Now,
whoa.
did you get bought out in Houston, or did you just sell a whole bunch to a bunch of different people?
yeah, so I actually got offered within like 20 minutes of setting up, and I turned that buyout down. But I did get bought out of most of, I'll just call it junk, cheap stuff, on Saturday night at the trade night. So I didn't end up bringing anything to the trade night. Ray came and hunted me down and said, "Hey, go grab all your slabs and bring them down. Someone's gonna buy them." So ran up to the room, grabbed those, and he basically took any PSA 9 modern, and basically any Japanese graded 10 modern card as well. And basically was just paying 75% on it all, which for the cheaper stuff,
Sweet.
is basically eBay price after shipping. So I was
Yeah,
really happy with
exactly.
that. Yeah.
That's awesome. Good for you.
I remember on Sunday you were
And
saying
then,
you were hoping somebody was gonna buy you out, and then you could just pick up and leave early, or not have to sell all day Sunday.
well, the pool at the hotel was awesome. I mean, it was like in a big shape of the state of Texas, kind of like in a big like lazy river.
Yeah.
They had a bunch of side pools and stuff as well. So I made the joke that if I got bought out Saturday, I wouldn't go Sunday. Thankfully, I went Sunday because I actually had someone buy me out of most of the rest of my stuff as well. Some sports guy towards the end of the show came and bought my entire binder, which was really nice. And surprisingly enough, I had a price on the whole binder at the beginning of the show, but singles were moving so well Saturday that I didn't really have it all tallied up Sunday. So I said, "Hey, you could take this and tell me what you'd offer." He said, "No, just add it all up and let me know," which is a huge mistake on his end. But uh, he ended up paying close to about 75% of what that was. So yeah, it was a good show. Got bought out a few times for a few different things. I also had I think Saturday some other vendor buy me out a lot of my sealed Japanese modern boxes as well. Got to price
Sweet.
stuff well so it moves.
That's awesome. You went home nice and light then.
Yeah, I mean, I could have left the suitcase and basically brought nothing back, but
That's the way to be. Yeah. You love to see the buyouts. You love to see a lot lighter on plastic, heavier on paper. That's the way to head home from Collecticon.
for sure.
Yes, yes. Uh,
I
have
see.
you
Go ahead, Nick.
Oh, go ahead. I was going to ask, have you opened any of your classic collections yet?
I literally just unboxed this one today. I wanted to have it here just so people could appreciate the obscene size of it. I mean, it's taller than these canvases. It looks a little, I wouldn't say it looks small behind me, but it looks a lot smaller than when I've got it right up here in my hands. But so I think I have 8 here right now. I completely forgot that I placed one on the Pokemon Center. This is actually the one that I got at full retail on the Pokemon Center. Should have definitely canceled that pre-order because I got like 7, I think. I think I got 4 and 3 or 5 and
Okay.
2 from my distributors, and those landed yesterday. I've not opened anything. I probably, I mean, given how huge they are, I'm probably gonna open all of them. Like, I really don't want to keep any amount of these sealed just for the pure real estate they take up. I want to break them down. If any of the big 3 are gradable, I'll probably chuck them at the 40 value, I think or maybe value plus. That's been turning around in like a week lately, and I feel like I've really been underutilizing the week turnaround tier right now. I have some cards out. Regrettably, I sent out at like 25. I have a couple of Moonbreons out. I feel like it's been like 2 months, and if it's 3 months for 15, couple months maybe for 25. When 40's a week, and for a little bit there it was 35 even. Depending what you've got, that can be big value there. That can be a good option, and I've just not been utilizing it enough. I did it with a couple gray felt hat Pikachu's and But yeah, I probably will do that with the big three. I've heard though so far, I mean from you, Nick, and then I texted with PK a little bit. I haven't yet watched his live because he was live last night at the same time as Terry and Wonder. But I've heard there's a lot of like nines. I've heard there's a lot of issues on them. Not like massive, but I heard a lot of them just have a couple white dots, whatever it may be. I might run it though. If you get them back in a week and they're nines and you're first to market, you probably still won't make out too bad. I don't know what they're going for raw, but I'll have to see. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the idea of getting these just like on the shelf, taking up tons of space. And actually, Nick, while we're on the Pokemon Trading Card Game Classic, did you hear from any distributors about a December restock, reprint, second wave? Because I actually got called.
I haven't heard.
I got called by one of mine, and I put it in a number. I put in like 50. I'm not gonna get that many, nowhere near, I don't think. But I think I asked for 100 on the first wave. Every distributor is different. Some of them just allocate you a number. Some of them ask you to give them a number, and then they say, no, you're gonna get 3, no, you're gonna get 2, whatever it may be. But yeah, this was my distributor that asked me to give him a number. I gave him 100 first wave, got 2, and I gave him 50 second wave, and I don't know yet what I've got. But yeah, that's supposedly some kind of a restock, second wave reprint in December.
Yeah, I hadn't heard anything from either of my distributors, but I have seen a few posts on Facebook about people saying they've heard through their distributor that there's going to be a second wave of these. So hopefully there is. I would like that if there was. I definitely I do want to keep one sealed. I think it looks pretty good sealed. So I want to hold on to one for myself, and then like you said, open the rest and grade the cards. But
Yeah,
overall, I think it's a really good product. The quality is really really nice on that stuff. I was pleasantly surprised opening mine.
Yeah, I definitely plan to pick 1 or 2 up sealed. I actually saw a picture a few weeks ago of how large they were, and I said, well, I'll wait for additional waves, hoping the price came down a little bit. So I will pick one up eventually, but for now, I'm not going to store it when I don't have to, especially if there's more waves coming. But super high quality product. I don't know why people get so mad about the price tag. You don't have to buy it. So um, it looks to be really nice. Hoping the cards are really nice quality on the inside as well.
Yeah. I see some questions starting to roll in, so I will get into those. We might as well dive right in. Mr. Walrus Lake in the chat. I think he is one of must be one of Terry Lake's children. He wants to dive right in though, and I'll let one of you guys start first. Do you see people leaving E4 after coffee talks, or do most not care?
Ooh, getting right into the drama.
And I know PoNGa, you probably weren't really on E4 years back, right? Nick and I both go, we both go quite a ways back. Nick, you were around UPCCC days, right? Not PokeGym days, but
No.
UPCCC days.
Not PokeGym days, no.
And go into it as much or as little as you want. I don't really care to get too embroiled in the drama, but I guess we have a couple questions. Not going to shy away from them. I'll see where you take it, Nick, and then I'll chime in what I've got, and PoNGa if you have anything to add.
So I think I don't know if people will leave E4 now with the coffee talks drama. I think the biggest kind of when people really left, it was when E4 split off from Pro Boards and went to their own website. Because obviously back then, Scott, PFM, they were saying that it was because of this new website was a lot better, which it was. Got to give them credit. It actually was better. Being able to use the mobile app and upload pictures easier. There were a lot of really good changes to this new website that wasn't offered on Pro Board. But I think that's when the division kind of started, because even back then, I think most people knew, at least I knew, that it wasn't just this website. The building it on your own website is a lot better. there was something else there that I didn't really know about, but I knew it was something more going on that people weren't talking about. And I knew it had something to do with Scott and DJ Gigabyte disagreeing. I thought it was the monetization. That's what I had heard. Scott wanted to monetize, DJ wanted to keep it free. And that's what the disagreement was all about. So I think that's when a lot of people left, and E4 became less and less relevant. Just because of that split. I know that's when I stopped going on E4 pretty much. I've been on there very rarely since, but I think that's when most people left. I think the people on the new E4 now, I don't think many of them will stop posting and stop interacting. Maybe some of them will. Who knows? Who knows on that? But yeah, that whole thing that came out. If you guys don't know, Coffee Talks with David Pearson, DJ Gigabyte. They just did a podcast yesterday or 2 days ago talking about the whole E4 split. And if you haven't seen it, definitely recommend watching it. The first 45 minutes is kind of just a rehash of the pre-release Raichu, and then the second half is where it gets into all the E4 drama that happened. And regarding that, I I know there's different sides to every story. Scott SM Pratt's going to have one side of the story. DJ Gigabyte's going to have one side of the story. I personally tend to believe DJ Gigabyte and what he says. I have no reason not to. I feel like he's he's someone who would be honest. I don't think I personally don't think he has anything to gain by lying about that stuff. I don't think he would. I've talked to him a little bit, so I don't know him super well, but I think he's being honest about this stuff. And it really it kind of did upset me because getting into Pokemon in 2009, I really, really looked up to Gary, Rusty, and Scott. Those were kind of like my three, I don't want to say idols, but I really looked up to those three people. And now hearing all this stuff about Scott, it does not put him in a very good light. If that stuff is true, which I can see it being true, it does not look good on him, and it does not make him look to be a very like good good role model for the hobby. But yeah, I tend to lean towards believing what Dan said, DJ Gigabyte. I know on E4 PFM, who's one of the mods, posted their side of the story, and he made some good points in that thread. But me personally, I tend to believe DJ Gigabyte and his side of the story, more so than the other side of the story. But there's my quick thoughts on that. What do you guys think on that whole thing?
Anything to add, PoNGa? Did you like read the E4 thread? Did you watch the Coffee Talks?
Yeah, I watch all the Coffee Talks episodes. It's a fantastic podcast. It's one of my favorites for sure. I just something about the Dan knowledgeable guy and Dave, kind of the quirky, acts like he knows nothing about Pokemon, but has self-proclaimed the largest English collection. I don't know either of them personally, but I've spoken to Dave very briefly when I bought some items from him. He gave me a phone call. We briefly spoke on the phone. Just like that instant reaction you get, kind of like Nick, I tend to want to believe Dan and Dave, on their side of the story and everything they talked about. But yeah, I don't think I'm, I don't know the other side of the story. Like Nick said, I'm sure there's another side, and but from how it was portrayed in the podcast, it didn't look good, from Scott's side. So I don't really know them personally, but Dan and Dave seem to be really stand-up guys from what I could tell. So um, sorry it happened to them. I know Dan was pretty involved. I mean, he said he had the admin powers and all that stuff for E4, so it must have been really stressful for him. But yeah, besides that, I really have nothing to add. I'm not the E4 expert here, so I'll leave it to you, Dan.
Having had over 5,000 posts on E4, I think I can say I'm the E4 expert of the three here. But no, really, like I largely got out of E4 around the time of the split, and honestly, it had less to do with the split and more to do with my split from the 9 to 5 grind. I used to browsing E4 was like a habit that I had built. I would just do it on my break. I would do it on my lunch. I would do it on my afternoon break, and that's when I do most of my engagement off the clock on my own personal time, always, obviously. Um, but when it first happened, I intended to be an active member on Mount Moon and on E4. I forget the exact timelines, but it just almost became more of a chore. A lot of the good features about E4, I mean, I'm like a boomer. I used to post over on the Kitco forums years back. I had thousands of posts years back on silver bug forums on Kitco, talking about gold and silver. And yeah, it's I'm just like I mean, I do Discord a lot now. That's part of it too. Discord started taking over the time I used to put into forums. So a lot of the new features though on E4 that were like mobile friendly and maybe Zoomer friendly. I was more of a boomer, so a lot of those like alienated me a little bit. I actually just recently went back to E4 like days before this drama dropped, and I signed up for the Secret Santa. I've done the Secret Santa every year since 2016, and I actually really enjoy. I really enjoy that. I'm doing the Professor Oak one in Discord too, but I'm not like super close. I mean, I actually sold one of my PSA 10 Dans to Dan, DJ Gigabyte. I've done some deals with him. I met him at various Worlds. I believe I saw him at both 2018 and 2019 Worlds. I also met Scott, SM Pratt in person. I've met Scott PFM. I met a lot of the involved parties, a lot of the original mods from E4. I would say I'm friends to an extent. I mean, nowhere near like as close I am with PoNGa or with Nick or with like Gem at Pokemon, these guys these days that I see a lot more and interact with in person, but I still periodically chat with them. And I've not really done it yet. I'm kind of letting it all simmer, maybe. I'm letting it all kind of wash over me. And I never try to have really emotional, quick reactions. I never try to like grab the pitchfork, light up the torch, and just emotionally react to anything. I'm letting the information wash over me. I read the E4 post. There are certain areas of conflict between both. And as with all stories, there's three sides to every story. There's one side's, the other side's, and then like what actually happened. Even if there's no intent to lie, people perceive and experience events differently. A lot of the conversations were done over the internet. A lot of intent and context is lost in text-based communication. So naturally, Dan is hopping up on the fence and saying that like there's probably, I mean, there are claims of doxing, there are claims of harassing, I think on both sides. And at some point, I don't know who I'll contact first or how exactly I'll do it, but I kind of intend to talk to friends on both sides, friends that are closely involved on both sides, and get a little more information. I can't say at this point I'm like on this side or on the other side. It's more like I kind of have friends on E4 and I have friends who don't like E4, and I hope I don't end up losing any friends or creating any issues, but it seems like, and Rusty, someone who is great at not getting engrossed in drama and stuff like that, he mentioned very briefly on his video that came out either today or yesterday, kind of that he feels like it's going to get worse before it gets better. And that's actually alluding to one of the questions Peak That you asked. Have you guys talked about the E4 stuff that was shared yet? Think there will be any blowback? I definitely feel like so much is out there now that I know Dan and Dave mentioned there likely won't be an episode 3. I almost feel there needs to be, to an extent. Obviously, after episode 2, E4 came out with their own post. I feel like there's going to be at least a few more iterations of back and forth. I guess I should say that I've already reached out to one side a little bit of, not that I don't believe you, but some of the claims that were made, hearing is one thing, seeing is another. If there are screenshots that can be shared, not really, again, not trying to like stir the pot, crank up the heat on the drama, but I think that it goes a long ways to actually see something, because memories can fail us. They're not perfect at all. And maybe there's different ways to read certain things. I mean, there's definitely been times where in my history, in Pokemon, outside of Pokemon, I've typed up a message and the intent was completely lost and it was completely mischaracterized, misunderstood, whatever it may be. So I don't know if any of that is interacting at play, or if, yeah, I said a lot without saying a lot, I think. But yeah, I'm letting it wash over me, and I'm trying to get some more information and then go from there. But I wouldn't say I'm like best friends with either party on either side, but I would consider them like, I'm friendly with them. I'm friends with them to some extent. So I definitely have interest in finding out a little bit more, just for sake of that. Anything else to add, Nick, or?
I don't like you were saying. I don't think we have seen the end of this, and I like you said, that Rusty said. I do think it's gonna get worse before it does get better. I don't know if we'll see a whole other dedicated Coffee Talks episode talking about the E4 split, but I do think the next episode will address. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions, and I'm sure they're going to address the E4 post that PFM made. So I'm sure we'll hear a little bit more on this. And then Scott, I don't think we're going to hear anything from him. He's gonna stay behind his Patreon, which I doubt he'll even address it in Patreon. I think he'll just stay out of it, which is, I don't know. Partially good, partially in admission of guilt if he does stay out of this completely.
On that,
I can see.
I just want to jump on that
coin.
quick. I want to jump on that one quick though. I feel like it's a very dangerous thing when you say someone avoiding talking about something is an admission of guilt. I think a lot of YouTube does that. I'm not gonna say just PokeTube. I think that happens a lot. Oh, you won't talk to me, so you're obviously hiding something. You're obviously guilty. Because I think yeah, I don't want to drag more names and get more. I guess we're going to have to some extent. But I think Dave mentioned in his video that Rattle reached out and wanted Dave to come on. And I think it's just dangerous and wrong of someone saying, well, Dave won't talk to me, so he's clearly hiding something. And I hate bringing more names in that aren't here, that aren't, I mean, but
say them all.
I very strongly disagree. And whether or not Dave's reasons for not talking to any person are valid or not, whatever, like, you don't have to talk to anybody about anything. And if you think only negativity, only drama, like, I completely understand that. And then there was another, I think there's a couple more questions that will spur a little bit more, but there was another thing I wanted to touch on. What was it? Did you have more, Nick? Sorry, I kind of cut in there, but I felt like I had to cut in on that one because I hear that a lot and I completely disagree that failing, and that's not me saying that I think Scott is completely innocent or anything, but I think it is a very rational, logical path to take at times, depending on the circumstances. The best path can be just completely not touching it, not engaging, because certain things are just you're not going to get anywhere with it.
Yeah, you're not gonna. Well, I think so. I think so with her, like the Dave situation. I think that's reasonable that Dave and Rattle never sit down and talk. And nothing's ever gonna change that situation. CGC is always going to be grading these uncut sheets, or not uncut sheets, but like the cards cut off these uncut sheets. Nobody's ever going to agree that the pre-release Raichu is real or fake. So it's them sitting down and talking. Okay, that's fine. But I think this whole Scott thing, where this is Scott, like Scott claims he started E4, he built E4, he spent all this money on E4. That's like his brand is E4. So I think it's more important that if what Dan's saying is not true, he needs to come out and say something. I don't think that's a time where if Dan's blatantly lying about this stuff, or even semi lying about this stuff, I don't think that's the time to just kind of ignore it and sweep it under the rug. People forget about it. Sure, there's going to be some people who already have formed their opinions. There's no changing their opinion. Scott can literally come out and show proof of Dan blatantly lying about everything, and people still believe Dan. But I do think it would be important for him to do that if that was the case. I don't think he will, just because I believe Dan more so, and I also think Scott doesn't. He wants to try and keep as good of a professional image as possible. Not spreading this news any further than it already has. So I don't know. I do agree with you that it's not always an admission of guilt, but I think in this case it's leaning towards that way.
Yeah, I almost wish they just put everything out on the table. I think some of the topics that were covered in the podcast were kind of hinting at things more so than showing the receipts and all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, I don't think the full truth will ever come out. I think, you know, to Nick's point, Scott's brand is kind of being associated with E4. So I'd like to hear him speak on it. Not sure he will, but yeah, I'd love to know all the facts and actual facts, not just, how a single party perceived what happened. But I'm not sure that we'll ever get there. So, um, unfortunately, it is what it is.
Yeah, I think Nick put it well. Just like politics can get at times, there are certain people so entrenched on each side, no matter what comes up, they are firm on that side 100%. And I'm sure, and one thing that goes on too, this is, you're talking about dozens of people, if not hundreds or thousands of people. Like when you say E4, I mean, there's two versions of that, right? The former one, the Mount Moon that's been archived, whatever. Then there's the new one. And some of the actions that were claimed to have gone on by the opposing side, like PFM Scott, not SM Pratt Scott, but the other, they used to call him Beta Scott as a meme, as a joke. But PFM Scott made that post, and within it, he made some claims of doxing and threats of whatever harassment coming from the other side. It matters who those people were, because like there are times that YouTubers get into these heavy, thick air quotes beefs where one of the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of followers of one of the YouTubers makes death threats and crazy things. And I mean, depending on the type of content made, depending on the context, you can't really hold Scott responsible, SM Pratt, for everything every E4 member has ever said and done towards the Mount Moon side, and vice versa too. Like and I don't know, that's the thing. When a claim like that steep is made, show the screenshots, call out the specific individual. Don't say Dan's side did this, Scott's side did that, because it makes a difference whether it was DJ Gigabyte doing it or SM Pratt doing it themselves. That drastically changes the story. But if a PokeFlipz viewer is beefing with a Slab podcast viewer, and it's like that's not representative of me and Nick fighting with Greeny and Oak, right? It's I don't know. I don't know what more to say on it than that. But I do see we have some more nice drama questions in here. We want to get to the next one, or you guys have more on that one?
Don't have anything else. I don't know. Do you have anything else, PoNGa?
Nope, I'm good on
Okay.
this topic.
So the next bit of hot drama, Peak that Chu came in and he's like, okay, PoNGa's on, let's put him through the ringer. Let's throw him right to the wolves and get out all the drama.
Yeah, it's always fun. The first topic we really cover outside of Houston was something that I'm not that knowledgeable about, so it's great.
Well,
Good start.
here's one you have more firsthand experience with. And it's funny how Peak That Chew comes in with one of those like no offense, and he says something very offensive. So he's like, outside of the drama, address this hot topic, spicy drama. Like aside from the drama, address this drama. That's what he's saying essentially. So how bullish or bearish are you on graded card mystery
Officially
boxes?
loves the pokey drama.
Yeah, he's Peak That Chew came in. He's like he's got his ladle in hand, ready to stir that pot up before the weekend. So I mean, we're here for it. We're here. But he says, how bullish or bearish are you on graded card mystery boxes outside of the drama? So talk about the drama, but without the drama. Do you think this is a more attractive product for casuals in the hobby who don't want to grade? I made in my recap video, I had a short segment, not sponsored in any way, but I kind of just talked about the Omega mystery packs because they were kind of debuting there, the beta version of it, and over 1 hour of our Saturday night were kind of encompassed by Omega mystery slabs flying all over the place, almost hitting people in the face and stuff. So I made my initial reaction to mystery products probably when I did the PokeRev video. PokeRev 2.0, 3.0, I forget what it was, but I bought a few packs. I actually did a full Dan spreadsheet breakdown, opened it all, talked about how much money I lost. My biggest thing, assuming transparency is there and assuming people aren't being like, if you want to call it rug pulled, I think it's fine. I think the Omega mystery box does one thing better than any other mystery product has done before, is like the packaging is really cool. Like having a booster pack or booster box of 10 individual packs of graded cards. As far as value goes, you open them, on average, you're going to lose money. A couple people are going to win big. I actually have one sealed in front of me that I kept from that night. A handful of people are going to win big. Some small percentage are going to win a little bit. Some small percentage are going to break even. The vast majority are going to lose money. It's like a casino. And it's like, I mean, I sell heavy WotC packs. So who am I to say anything negative? Like, this is a $30 retail product, as far as I understand. You might lose 60% on average. I don't know the exact numbers. I wasn't involved in collating it. I wasn't involved in what went into the 200, 300,000 card pool. But on average, if the EV is negative 60%, that's no worse than the WotC heavy packs I sell, honestly. And so I think as long as it's all legitimate, as long as it's all valid, like not tampered with, which I have no reason to believe it is, I think it's fine. Are there better ways for people to spend money? Absolutely. But like, I go to casinos. I rip WotC heavy packs. Who am I to say? And actually, I have talked a little bit about mystery product a la random slab lots on eBay. I do sell some slabs in that fashion. I like to think that the EV of mine is much higher than a product like this, is much higher than even opening like a random Pokemon booster pack, because I sell minimum 8, minimum 9 grade. PoNGa can probably attest to some of the grades we saw, some of the cards we saw. I opened one that was a CGC 8 Chinese 001 SVP. I mean, that is a $2 card. How much they're paying for grading, maybe $6, $7. Like we don't know exactly what they're paying for grading. Say they're paying the full 9. That was an $11 card all in at $30 retail. So, yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on them. I think consumers would be better off not buying them, but people constantly, myself included, spend money in negative EV ways. So who are we to say how people spend their money? What are you guys' thoughts?
You want to
You
go
want to go?
first, you can.
Okay. Yeah. So I have a lot of thoughts, I think, on mystery packs in general. So I'm never going to be the consumer for them. I don't like to gamble. Part of the reason why I like sealed products so much is, opening stuff is always a gamble. But mystery packs in general, I think they've gotten a lot better. And I think PokeRev has a lot to do with that, with the transparency around what you could actually pull. I mean, he goes on Instagram Live, shows all that kind of stuff. Now, the graded mystery packs, I'll never understand. Um, you say there's a possibility of losing 60% of your money, but in reality, you lose 60% of your money for something that you're never going to be able to sell. So you're essentially losing 100% of your money. I mean, you're never going to be able to sell a CGC8 SVP001 Chinese promo. I mean, you might be able to bulk it out for a couple bucks, but I think people just like to gamble. And I think as long as there's that moonshot chance, like I think in these, there's that first edition Charizard, people are going to buy them and open them. Um, for me, I'll never understand it. I'm very bearish on that. It just doesn't make sense to me. But when it comes to casuals in the hobby, I think they might not be so ingrained in the market and understand what has value, what doesn't have value. So they might enjoy a CGC8 SVP001 promo and think that's value to them. Where we kind of come from is the money side of things. It just doesn't make sense for me. So um, from the drama aspect of it, I don't think there's any ill intentions with these new Omega mystery boxes, but the mystery packs are there to make money, and I feel like people kind of perceive that to be a negative thing, but I mean it's a business. They're there to make money. It's going to be plus EV for them selling it. They're going to get rid of a lot of bad slabs, but there's also a chance that you make money. I know Brad made money on his free one. I mean, he pulled a pretty expensive card out of his, so there's definitely things you can pull out of them.
What did he get out of his? Do you remember?
It was the
He got that
Ditto-mander.
Charmander stamped card.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was the stamped Ditto-mander from Delta Species. I forget what the stamp was, but it was like a special release promo.
Nice. There we go. Uh, yeah, I feel similar to you guys. Personally, I don't like the idea of the mystery boxes. I would rather sell people stuff that they know what they're getting versus just a random item that they may or may not want. Um, I don't since I started doing these eBay lives, I've gotten a lot of people asking to do mystery items, mystery boxes, mystery lots, stuff like that. So there is definitely a demand for that type of stuff. People, it's like what you always say, Dan. People just have money and they don't know what to do with it, so they gotta get rid of it somehow. That's how it feels sometimes. They'll just buy anything. Um, so personally, there is a lot of interest for those mystery type items, but I never want to. I don't want to get into it that deep. Like you selling a random slab, Rusty doing that same thing. A lot of people doing that same thing. That I can get behind because I think you are offering something that's you have them priced for like $18. I think you are offering something that's within that like $15 to $20 price range. You're not selling complete garbage. Whereas a lot of these other mystery boxes are just selling complete garbage with the chance to win something really, really good. But that chance to win something really, really good is very, very minimal. So one person is going to come out on top. However, many other people are going to lose most of the money that they spend on these things. But I don't like them. I'll never sell them. I'll never do them myself. But then, like what you were saying earlier, Dan, with it's the same as I don't like that argument about mystery packs are the same as booster packs. Because you're talking about a no-name company, whatever mystery box company it is. You're talking about a no-name company versus a multi-billion-dollar company, Pokemon. Pokemon obviously has a lot more on the line than this random company that nobody's heard of. Pokemon's not going to screw around with the odds. They're going to keep that consistent. 1 in 3 packs are going to have a holo. 1 in 3 packs are going to have a hit. Whatever the case may be. One SIR per box or whatever the case is. Whereas these mystery packs, they advertise that, but is it actually true? I'm sure it is true in most cases, but how do you know? What do they have to lose? They don't have as much to lose as Pokemon does. So I just think it's the reputation and like the branding. I feel like you can trust Pokemon a lot more than you can trust some random company. And the same is true like with like sports cards. You can trust Topps and Fanatics and all that way more than some random seller on eBay. So I don't necessarily think it's the same type of thing. Sure, it's similar where most packs that you're opening are going to you're going to lose money. But I think that's known. I think most people know that. But I think the bigger part is the brand behind who's making the packs versus who's making the mystery boxes. So yeah, that's what I would say on that.
And one thing I want to add, because you came up, I think you are a little bit conflicting with the fact that you're kind of against this, but you're more okay with the product that I sell and the product that Rusty sells. I'm on the same side as you in that I sell the product I sell because I think it's more fine. So I'm kind of on your side, but I'll also push a little bit too, because I sell for 18 to 20 bucks a slab that will list anywhere between 10 and 25. My floor and my ceiling are a lot tighter. The EV is maybe only 10 or 20% negative, depending on how you want to look at it, depending on how you want to figure it out. Is it Sean? And for anyone who doesn't know, I mean, we're going to get into another couple comments here where Sean Bassick is the guy's name. He is the one behind Omega Mystery Boxes, and then Zach actually works for him, sourcing cards that go into that, whatever it may be. But is it Sean's fault that there's a consumer for that? Like, all I see Sean as is somebody filling consumer demand. I mean, he had a run of 300,000 in the same time frame that he sells 300,000 of these Omega Mystery slabs. I might only sell 300 of mine. Is it his fault that the demand for a $30 MSRP product with a ceiling of $30,000, a CGC 10 base for his Charizard, and a floor of $3? That's not his fault that people want to buy a 90% loss or a potential 1,000 times gain, right? I mean, we're all in this to make money. And when I say we're all, like, I mean, and anyone who's full-time in this, anyone who is a net capital extractor, whether you're Pokemon, whether you're PSA, whether you're, so I personally can't fault PokeRev for charging 50 bucks for what is most likely going to come out to being $25 worth of singles. If even that on average for most people. I can't fault Pokemon for having $160 MSRP on what amounts to $1.50 worth of cardboard. There's a consumer for it. If it was that bad, as long as there's no lying, as long as everything is out in the open. And that's, again, on the presumption that Pokemon is actually giving us what they are telling us they are giving us, on the presumption that I'm actually giving you what I'm telling you I'm giving you. I don't like the whole dangling. The biggest thing that I don't like, the reason that I sell heavy packs and light packs instead of unweighed packs, I don't like there to be the possibility that anyone will question me. I like to tell people the ceiling is literally what you're paying or a few bucks more. And the floor is like right there. Like I like to have that tighter range just so that there can't be questions. I don't want people to be able to call into question anything. Obviously with this one, you can call into question, is the Charizard actually in there? Is the Typhlosion, is the Gyarados in there? I assume they are, given how high the profit margin on a product like this is when it's being legitimate. The biggest, and we can dive down as deep into the rabbit hole as people want to go, but like the whole Blake Martinez thing, when you did the math on the Guess the Energy games, going for what they were going for, offering the bounties they were offering, the math did not math, because the EV would have been negative for Blake's Breaks. They would have been losing money. You can run the math on 300,000 Omega Mystery Slabs, having one $30,000 card in it. That only adds 10 cents per pack. That only, like, it's very plausible, and it's extremely likely that that card is actually seeded into there somewhere. I mean, hopefully it's in this one right here. And if I were to open it, it would be like, oh my God, Zach, I mean, Dan has met Sean and Zach, and they gave him that card. And so that's why I don't touch that. If I were to ever do one with a high ceiling and then somebody that I knew ended up getting it, I just don't want any part of that. So I choose to sell what I choose to sell, but I can't blame him. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it as long as it's all out in the open, as long as it's all disclosed, which I believe it to be. That's my take.
Yeah, I just I really feel better about it when it's just full transparency. This is the worst case scenario, this is the best case scenario, and I feel not the Omega mystery packs or anything like that. I feel like in general there are some mystery packs out there that don't show the low end, right? They dangle what the grand prize is, but they don't show you what the lower end of things are. I also really enjoy like what Danny Phantom does. He basically sells those mystery packs that have a lot of modern packs or $25 or whatever, and you basically get exactly that value of packs inside, from his backlog, stuff like that. That's probably the only one that I'd ever consider buying. But yeah, it's there's a market out there for it, so people are going to buy it and people are going to try to make money doing it. So I don't think it's wrong either way, unless
Yeah.
you lie about it.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. It's you make a good point, Dan, with the whole everyone's out to make money and people are buying this stuff. So is it bad? I just go back to living in fantasy land over here. That we kind of have an obligation to treat people fairly, to continue to grow the hobby. These people who are buying these mystery items, are they going to stay in the hobby, losing money time and time again? I don't know if they are. I feel like they're just going to get fed up with losing money over and over and over again and get out of the hobby eventually. Whereas we want the hobby to continue to grow and prosper long term. So is it better to sell people individual cards that they actually know what they're getting? I think so. That's why I do it. But is that actually going to help? I have no idea. Maybe not. That's where I come from though with that is I just feel like these mystery things are going to eventually reach a point where they're taking people away from the hobby because they're just constantly losing money. But maybe that'll never happen. It's crazy the amount of stuff that's selling right now, and it's been like this for the past almost 3 years since 2020. So is it going to stop? I have no idea. Maybe it'll just keep going like this forever. But yeah, that's kind of where I come from with that.
And I want to push back heavily on that though too. 90+% of participants in the hobby are not just consumers first, but wholly consumers. Like all they do, wholly, like WHOL, not like wholly HOLY, but 95+% of people only buy and never sell. I mean, that's a made up number, but I think I feel quite safe in saying that. So when they buy a $30 product and they get a card, like they're not pulling up TCG Fish, they're not pulling up eBay last sold, low list. It's like, oh my God, I never would have thought to buy. And I mean, obviously a CGC 8 Chinese 001 SVP is pretty rough from someone who knows what that is and knows what goes into it. But some people are like, my man Quaxley, Pikachu. It's like Chinese. Like I've never owned a foreign language card. I've never owned this is my first slab. I mean, I'm not trying to like romanticize it too much. Obviously, it's turning $30 into $5 or less. But I think that's just like way too financially slanted because of our minds and the way that we interact in the hobby. And that is so far. Like right now we have 50 people watching. These 50 people watching are not your average Pokemon consumers. We are the 1% of the 1% of the 1%, and we care way more about the finances. So many people. It's like, should you villainize Walmart for selling $4.50 packs when we know you can go buy them by the thousands on TCG Player for $2, $2.50, whatever it may be. I don't think it's inherently right or wrong. It's just like, yeah, I don't know how to phrase it any differently than that, but I think that's important to keep context of how deep we are and how most people are not that deep. And a lot of people just are like $100 a month forever. We'll go into Pokemon. It'll never pay me anything back except for the joy, except for the experiences. And like some amount of people, and if they open one and they don't enjoy it, they don't like it, they just won't buy anymore, right? Like some of the best feedback I've ever gotten are on my mystery slab listing. I've probably sold 500, 600-ish. I've gotten people like, oh my God, my daughter didn't even know that card existed, didn't even know that set existed. She got her first WotC well, not WotC, they wouldn't say WotC. She got her first edition Pokemon card. She got her first card from 1999. This card is older than her, older than him. Like the amount of stellar reviews that I've gotten are so much higher on that type of product. And yeah, again, if any of my friends, if any of my family, if anyone asked me as a consumer, am I going to get the best value, the best bang for my buck buying PokeRev packs, buying Omega Mystery packs, even buying booster packs? Should I go on Nick's eBay Live and buy 151 from him? I would say probably not. You should probably go on TCG Player and buy the singles. So I would not advise anyone buy them, but I also wouldn't think that they're crazy to do it. I mean, I do some crazy things, go to the blackjack table, things like that, go out and have IPAs at a bar when I can have them for $2 a piece at home. Is the bar scamming me? Charging me $8 an IPA when I can just buy a 12-pack at $2 a can? Like, what's the point of that? I gotta pay tax, I gotta tip. That makes no sense. Like, how stupid do you have to be to go to a bar and buy beers when you can have the same thing at home for cheaper? People interact and consume differently. And as long as it's adults, as long as it's not kids, as long as there's no lying, that's my rant on all that.
Yeah, I just think there's more ways to look at value besides just monetary value. And I think that's just a simple way to put it. People might find value opening these mystery packs and don't necessarily look at the price, like Dan said. So, and I'm sure there's a percentage of people that open them, see that they lost 70% of their money and might leave the hobby. But there's also probably a large percent of those people that just like the card they got.
And that is a good point too. There is a lot of people who either don't know or don't care about values. That even happens to me on eBay Live. Even though I'm running single cards, some of these cards go for very, very high prices. And people are super happy to get them. So while I'll say while I'm not necessarily a fan of mystery boxes, I guess you can fault me in another way by not being super transparent about market value of cards when I run them through eBay Lives. I don't tell people, hey, you should spend this much on this card. That's what you can get them for. Buy it now. I just started off at $1 and let it go for whatever it goes for.
You monster.
So I guess it's kind of similar in that regard. Yeah, it just people do like the cards and they don't necessarily always care about the value.
Yeah,
But
I think it's a really interesting conversation.
Yeah, it is. It is for sure. I got to go for 1 second. I got to return a phone call real quick.
Okay.
Now that he's gone, we could have some fun.
Yeah. Anything you want to bring up about Houston while we got Nick gone before we take any more of the spicy questions?
It's funny because we always make fun of you for making the statement, bring good stuff priced well, but it's entirely true. And I've only done Charlotte and Houston so far, plan to do a lot more next year as well, but I have one piece of advice is bring a variety of things and try to price it as good as you can because it'll sell. That's the one thing I really learned from Houston this time was I brought everything priced super well and I did fantastic. So and another piece of advice is never go and drink with Dan at night. It'll ruin your whole weekend.
It's minus EV for the wallet, but it's plus EV for the heart. Uh,
For sure. For sure.
uh, bring good stuff priced well. I think that is the general best advice for Collecticon. On the topic of mystery slabs, though, maybe bring bad stuff priced poorly, and box it up nice. Maybe that's the actual play. Had to throw
Yeah,
that little.
I think in Houston there was that whole booth that was all mystery boxes, right?
Yep. Money
So I mean they
allergies are an actual thing. Like it's crazy. There are entire booths. I saw one that was like I think it was like an anime geared thing, and it was like here's a Pokemon themed box. Here's a Yu-Gi-Oh themed box. Here's a My Hero Academia, whatever it may be. And they were just like literally big white boxes that had either plush or cards or whatever other kind of memorabilia. Just like, oh, I like that IP, I like that thing. Let me. And what were the EV of those? Like, were there any big hits in those? Or a lot of people just go and are happy to consume. A lot of people just want a little dopamine hit, a little bit of an escape from whatever's going on in their life. Like, oh, you're telling me I got a small chance at getting a car worth of value. And again, people do it. People do the Powerball. People do scratch offs. People do this and that. Uh, I'm not the consumer. I would advise most people to not be the consumer, but I can't like you can't tell other adults how to spend their money, right? I mean, I guess you can try to steer them in the right way if you think you're doing the morally correct thing or whatever, but I think it's dangerous to get into policing how people spend their money too much.
I mean you tell people how to spend their money all the time. So
S&P 500 index funds.
yeah, you're everyone's financial advisor here, so I don't
Uh,
know why you'd say that.
I think we there was this other one on the mystery packs. Sean Jackson said, "What do you guys think of Rattle making videos criticizing Zach Gemmin's involvement of the Omega mystery packs?" I don't think he really brought up Zach much, but he did. I mean, directly called out Sean Bassick many times. David Person in Coffee Talks, the follow up episode. David covered a lot of that. David clearly knows Sean a lot better than I do, but I talked to Sean. I met him first in Charlotte, and then I actually talked to him a decent bit more in Houston. And I have no business dealings. I've sold no cards to him to go into the Omega Mystery Packs. He did. I think each convention he bought like one card for my case. PSA 9s, probably making that play to try to upgrade him to CGC 10s or whatever. But my interactions, my dealings with him, no issues whatsoever. As far as all the alleged associations with other people who've done shady, like I think another thing that's kind of dangerous is saying, and this is a point that Dave Person made, being merely associated with in the past, like not even somebody who has active associations with, but if someone you used to deal with in the past turns up to be an unsavory individual in whatever way, can you really be held liable? Can you be held responsible that you happen to work for that individual, that you happen to buy or sell something to or from that individual? I think it's kind of dangerous territory to just be like, if anyone in your past ever has any kind of marks on their record or any kind of issues, like we're gonna just lump you in with them as a complete scammer, complete whatever their issues were. I think that gets dangerous. And I'm saying this all as like obviously my opinion. I don't know any of these individuals nearly as well as some of the others making comments. So like go watch the other videos, go get the actual, some of it's firsthand, some of it's third or fourth hand, I don't know.
Yeah, I just say like, on that topic, it's it's very dangerous to just associate or think someone's bad because they're associated with someone that might have made a mistake or had some issue in the past, but um, yeah, it just gets really dangerous very quickly, and it's not always the right thing to do. Unfortunately, a lot of people do make that jump to assume everyone associated with that person's also bad, and it's a lot of times just not fair. Um, so yeah, nothing really to add there, but it just what I will say is make your own opinions. Try to watch and learn all you can, and try to have your own thoughts and not just listen to what some guy in a video says are the facts.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the best takeaways from episode. I believe it was episode 2 of that like 2-part E4 response, whatever. Dave said a lot about being, and you need to be careful because, and I know Dave Person would back this up too. All the things that he said, he wasn't just saying about Rattle or SM Pratt or whoever it may have been about. Him too. I mean, there were actually some comments that Dave read that were criticizing him that were obviously that he disagreed with, but he's like, thank you for sharing your opinion. It's good that people are formulating their own opinions, and the I don't know if it's like a culture, the whole internet culture, or not even just internet culture. Again, some of it gets into politics, some of it gets into like just celebrity as a whole. People that get so tied to one, almost like I'm wearing a Jets shirt. I'm a Jets fan. I'm a Jets fan, a Rangers fan, a Mets fan. I think it's very different when it's sports. It's purely entertainment. The way that people have their fandom towards an individual or a politician or whatever it may be, and it's just like irrevocable. It's like that person can do no wrong in their eyes, and whatever they do, whatever comes out, they will just blindly follow them. They will twist the reality to where their person is the hero and the other is a villain. That's why I every time it happens, I definitely consume a lot of the drama geared content. I'm not a fan of it though overall. I think a lot of react content where you're talking about someone else's content and they're not present, which unfortunately I'm doing right now. I think it's just inherently something we like, the human condition. We just love it, just inherently, viscerally. But it's just bad. It's almost a universal bad, I think, in my opinion, because it just sows division and leads to a lot of negativity all around. It's inherently bad. I hope the saga kind of closes as amicably as possible. I hope I don't know. I don't know how it can all come to like a clean resolution in any way, but I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I guess I don't mind the content as much when there's facts behind it. I think some of the content that comes out, um, some of the content that comes out daily has a lot of opinion put into it, and I think it influences other people to think negatively on someone or some business when the facts just don't add up. So that's why I just stress to have your own opinion and actually look at the facts, not just think something's true because someone says it or has an opinion on someone.
Well, sorry about that. I am back now. I am back now.
No problem.
Dan was just roasting some drama channels, so you didn't miss much.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, getting I'm talking negatively on reaction content, which essentially this right now is reaction content because we're talking about people that aren't present and content that's happened, and I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of being part of it, but the chat steers the conversation with the questions, right?
This is
Yeah,
true.
maybe Dan, if you started picking some sides once in a while, then people wouldn't push you as much because they kind of know where you're going to lean anyways. So you just sit on the fence so often that people just have to keep pushing and pushing and asking the hard questions.
And I
You
think
fence sitter, you.
it can be described obviously as a bad character trait, but I think a lot of it goes into like actually trying to make judgments and trying to like take in the information. There's not enough facts presented from either side. There's very little facts actually. When you really like to call out one of our viewers, the one who came in with his ladle stirring up the pot, right? I remember when episode 1 dropped and Pikachu was out there like, hey, did you see that? Episode 1 didn't really feel that dramatic. It felt like a lot of claims were made, but nothing was really like backed up. There was actually very little evidence whatsoever. And they went a little bit deeper with it, but they didn't really still show any screenshots. They didn't show any. It was, I mean, I have no reason to believe that he's lying, but I also have no support to show that he's telling the truth either. So I'm just at the point of like, some claims were made. There's really no substantiation to any of them. I have no reason to believe he's lying, but I have no reason to believe he's telling the truth either. If I just completely separate myself, because I don't have a dog in the fight. It's kind of like these people. I mean, you can almost equate it to CGC versus PSA versus BGS. I have no loyalty to any of them. When it comes to business, I have loyalty to the dollar. When it comes to like a story of this nature, I have loyalty to the truth. And I just don't see any like absolute truths presented from either side. I mean, a little bit of data came out from the E4, the whole post engagement, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, that doesn't really do much to debunk any of the big claims that were made. But yeah, there was no supporting evidence with a lot of those claims either. So it's, yeah, I don't know. But yeah, episode 2 felt like it had more, but I feel like episode 3, episode 4 might even get a little bit spicier if they actually bring some supporting documentation. And again, in this age of Photoshop and all these different things, depending on what's shown, like there's just going to be claims by both sides that things were manipulated and made up and blah, blah, blah. Like nothing is going to go anywhere. Like maybe some people will quit E4. Maybe some people will dislike Dan and Dave a lot more, or they'll pop up on the radar and they'll dislike them. So some people will get riled up, and that's all that will come of it. I don't think like there will ever be a future where they all sit in a circle and sing Kumbaya, right? There's gonna be no like everyone agrees on everything. That never happens. It never will happen. Sean Jackson said, were any of you surprised to hear that Charlie Herlocker had a 15K offer on the pre-stamped Pikachu? I'm assuming he means the pre-release Raichu. Not really. I know Charlie collects a lot of different things, and that one, I think there's an interesting dynamic. We talked about all this drama with E4 and stuff. We didn't really address the pre-release Raichu at all. I think we talked about it on the last PokeFlipz a little bit, but it all comes down to how people define real. In my opinion, it's a real card with a real history, a real story, real chain of custody, like provenance as to when and how it was released, who got it, what employee, this, that. I think there will be a hard time having any future copies authenticated that don't come directly from another WotC employee. So I think Charlie, it's not surprising that he would have made a high offer on the most documented copy that had been photographed by Scott Pratt, put on the forum years back, that had been shown around. I believe Mike Boozer was the source of the one copy. So yeah, it's not that surprising that he would have made an offer like that on a oddity, error, whatever you want to call it, card like that with good provenance.
I don't know. I was kind of surprised that I was kind of surprised, kind of not surprised at the same time. That he did make an offer. And the only I don't know much about it. The only reason I say that I was kind of surprised is because that original E4 thread, one of the original E4 threads. This is going way back in the day. On the pre-release Raichu, Charlie was one of the people who was not like super strongly, but he was one of the people who was saying that he didn't think this card was real. Whether I forget exactly whether that be just because it was like something fun that they did in the factory, or whether or not it was an aftermarket stamp. I forget exactly what it was, but I do remember him being one of the people who was saying that the card wasn't real. So for him to go make an offer on the card, maybe something changed that changed his mind, but I was surprised to hear that. Um, but yeah, as far as like the offer goes, 15,000. I am not surprised by that figure at all. Just given how rare these cards are, and knowing Charlie and him being such a completionist collector, it does make sense that he would have a strong offer on this card.
Yeah,
Is it-
I don't know much about the backstory on the offer and all that kind of stuff, but the dollar figure makes sense to me. Um, what I know about it is basically a myth, right? I mean, that's like how some people kind of portrayed it. And yeah, like Nick said, I mean, it was brought up that he thinks it wasn't a real card, but things change. There might have been more facts put in his face, or more, you know, evidence that it was real, whatever real means, brought towards him, and yeah,
yeah, and
not
again, like
really surprised or.
I don't know what the context. Like I don't really remember. I definitely was very engrossed in E4, and I probably read all the posts, and I don't remember who was on what side or how they flip flopped or how they didn't flip flop over time. I think I was always of the opinion it was real, in that it was really produced back then on the proper equipment at the proper time in the proper factory, raw materials, whatever. And I think that's what CGC authenticated. Maybe Charlie's definition of not being real at the time that he made it, because I believe this was pre 2020. I believe this was pre CGC grading trading cards. Maybe his definition of real at the time was able to be authenticated. Like that's a very reasonable definition of real. And with all information we had at that time, PSA had already multiple times declined to authenticate it. So maybe his sole definition of real, depending on the context he gave it, depending on like there's so many, like people hate it. People hate the gray area. People want black versus white, binary 0-1. The world exists in nuance and gray area. And I think a lot of it comes down to the nitty gritty of like the specific details that are lost to time. And maybe they're not lost to time. Maybe you can dive into the Mount Moon archive, and well, it's not available for us, but I think like someone like Dan could see it. Maybe that's all there. Like maybe you could point out. But again, it's dangerous to say that something that someone writes on a message board 10 years prior, they need to have all those same stances today. Like individuals grow and adapt to new information over time, as PoNGa referenced. It's very dangerous to pin someone down and say you're a hypocrite because you said this on a message board when you were 16 12 years ago, and now you're saying this, which completely contradicts that. Like again, I don't know enough specifics to just villainize anybody. But I think, as usual, I'll hop up on the fence, sprinkle in some nuance, and then I'll move on to the next question. um, Here's an easier one. Stepping away from the drama, stepping more into like the PokeFlipz maybe. PoNGa, why don't you start here? Because you've been getting the scraps on a lot of this drama. Do you think Tina Altart, the Giratina Altart, can beat Moonbreon long term for price, knowing Giratina / Arceus probably more popular in the next growing generation?
Oh man. Yeah, that exact example, I'll just go with my gut and say not the Giratina alt art beating the Moonbreon. I just think the art on the Moonbreon is much better, and to be honest, I don't like the art style of the Giratina. Um, but I think there are cards out there that could potentially do better than Moonbreon. I personally don't ever see myself owning Moonbreon. I think there's much better cards out there. I really like the Lugia alt art, but I'm biased because I love Lugia, so I'd rather have that card. But Yeah, I think there's examples of cards out there that definitely can. I think the Rayquaza alt art from Evolving Skies is better than the Moonbreon, and I think at first when Evolving Skies came out, that card actually performed better, or it was a higher price than the Moonbreon. I just think people associate good with uh, a high price, and they just kind of follow suit and like it because it's worth a lot of money. And I think that opinion could change over time. So a little fence sitting there, but I think there definitely is a way that Moonbreon gets knocked down.
I agree with you. I'm glad you said Giratina art is trash. Maybe not that maybe
I
not
don't know if
that
it's trash. I don't.
extreme,
I
but
didn't say trash. I just don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on in the art.
It's
I
busy.
feel the same way. I am not a fan of that card whatsoever. I don't understand why people like that card so much. Personally, I don't know why the Aerodactyl wasn't the chase card from Lost Origin, because that one is such a good art. Now, obviously, it's subjective, and a lot of people do like the Giratina, but personally, I think the Aerodactyl blows away the Giratina. Um, but as far as like the Moonbreon is concerned, I don't know. I think I can see a world. It's a small percentage where the Rayquaza does become number one. And Moonbreon does drop to number two. But then at the same time, I think Moonbreon is like so established right now as being, when people think of Sword and Shield, what's the first thing that you think of? Obviously the Moonbreon. And I think that's true for a lot of people. So is it already too late for that kind of narrative to change and people to start valuing another one of the alt arts more so than the Moonbreon? I don't know if that will happen. I can see a small world where the Rayquaza does beat out the Moonbreon. But I do think it will be between those two, Rayquaza and Moonbreon. I can't see another one becoming number one. Me personally. But yeah, that's what I would say on that one.
Easy. Moonbreon wins. Next.
Yeah, I just think the problem with Moonbreon is, like Nick said, it's the card, and everyone thinks it's the card because of the price, and so it's going to be hard to knock down.
Yeah, and Moonbreon's Gen 2.
Yep.
I mean, we had a big boom in 2016, we had a big boom in 2020, 2021. Still the biggest boom likely was in 1999 though. And I guess it was a couple years after. Things were still pretty booming when Gold, Silver, Crystal came out. So, on the heels of like one of the three biggest booms, certainly. We don't know exactly how big it was relative, but yeah, Umbreon is a very highly popular species. It would be hard to be knocked down, but I think it's unlikely to. One interesting analog that I think of, because whether or not it has merit, if it goes on long enough, it almost doesn't matter. Kind of like the Illustrator. I think a lot of people are of the opinion that there are cards that reasonably have an argument to be more valuable than the Illustrator, like the original Japanese trophies. It still hasn't happened that way, but with all the Illustrators currently up, I think we have like 3 actively right now. Don't we have Golden Heritage? I think we have multiple up. We just had the CGC 10 end recently. I think within a few years, number 1 Trophy Pikachu 97 will be outselling most Illustrator copies. Probably never eclipsing that $5.275 million sale. But 10, 20 years from now, who knows? Maybe something knocks off Umbreon, but I don't think it's happening anytime soon. And then, very quickly, if you want to add, Flip Flop had basically the same question. Brilliant Stars, will that ever dethrone as a booster box the Evolving Skies booster box?
You want me to start?
Yeah, might as well.
I like Brilliant Stars more than Evolving Skies,
You
but I
said it.
don't think it'll outpa yeah, I don't think it'll outpace it price-wise is the problem. I look at what's fun to open, and I don't think Evolving Skies is fun to open, and Brilliant Stars with the trainer gallery it has in there, it has the Umbreon and stuff like that. Um, it just feels better to open. So I really like Brilliant Stars.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think like looking at if you look at both sets on paper, I think Evolving Skies is the better set on paper. But then when you factor in like the opening experience, I think Brilliant Stars is definitely the way to go. I really like the whole introduction of the trainer gallery subset, being able to increase the number of hits per box and pull some really really cool looking cards with the trainer gallery subsets. Whereas Evolving Skies, that is a painful set to open. I feel bad opening those packs for people on the lives, because the majority of packs that you're opening are going to be complete L's, and it just feels bad. Whereas with the later Sword and Shield sets, Brilliant Stars, all the way to the end with Crown Zenith, at least the trainer gallery cards aren't worth a whole bunch, but at least they look good and they're cool cards. So it doesn't feel like a complete loss. Whereas Evolving Skies, unless you get one of those top alt arts, it feels really bad. So I think like from like a sealed and opening and like if you're investing perspective in sealed, I would go Brilliant Stars over Evolving Skies at the current price points.
Evolving wins. End of discussion. I need some quick answers in here. I've done too many long, nuanced ones. I'm off the fence. Um. Mr. Walrus wanted to know. I lost the comment, but do balding people use shampoo still? I'm one of those. I used to just use shampoo all over. I think I have like a 2-in-1 or a 3-in-1. I use one. I'm not about to have 6 bottles in the shower every time I shower. I use one thing. I think I use like Suave 2-in-1 for men or something. I think it's like hair and body wash or something it's called. I'm not about to have my wife's got 8 different bottles going on in there. I knock a different one down every single time.
Um,
No input? You guys not gonna talk about your products? Come on.
I use whatever's in the shower, so
There you go.
tends to be separate bottles. So yeah, I'll leave it at that.
I'm a shampoo and bar soap kind of guy.
Oh, bar soap.
I've never been a
What's wrong with that?
I've never been a bar soap guy. I'm not a fan. It's just weird. Obviously, it's like self cleaning or whatever, but I'm not a fan. You can tell when I'm searching for the next question because I pull up questions like that.
It's a solid question.
I'll fill the gap. Ray, you don't need shampoo.
Oh yeah, Ray did ask if you were single too. Ray wanted to know if our guest was single.
Yeah.
I think he was trying to make some moves.
No, I'm happily. Yeah, I'm happily married, and he knows that.
I just went through 40 minutes of comments and there wasn't a single actual question, I don't think. I'm gonna be live before you know it.
Man, look at that.
Seasoned Salt said, "What's the cost to ship a bulk card on eBay?" So anything sub $20 is eBay standard envelope eligible, and it's like, what is it? Nick, help me out. 63 cents for 1 ounce or less.
Yep, 63 cents.
Yep. And I
And
think
then 87 cents for 2 ounces and $1.11 for 3 ounces.
yep, you can go.
I go by the number of cards for that. Like if I can fit 2 cards into a regular top loader. So I always do if it's 1 or 2 cards, it goes under the 1 ounce service. When I get up to 3 cards, then I have to put the cards like in a team bag, put a top loader behind the cards, and then seal it shut. So it's a little bit thicker. I'll upgrade to the 2 ounce service in that case. And then I'll do up to it's like up to 15 cards under the 2 ounce service, and then 3 ounces is it used to be anything over 15 cards. Now I don't really deal with those. So I don't really do the 3 ounce one. Except for jumbo cards. Jumbo cards I still sell. And I'll do jumbo cards as a 3 ounce and one of those cardboard mailers. But really good service. Really, really good. Being able to bulk print those is so nice.
They need to bring the standard envelope to TCG Player.
Yes.
I think
Yes,
it's
they
in the
do.
works. I think it's definitely something
Yeah.
that they're looking at. Obviously, eBay bought TCG Player. I forget if it was last year or was that in 2021? Maybe it was just last year. Time flies. It's hard to tell.
It was within the last year. I think it was within the last year. I don't know if it was early this year or last year, but I don't think it was that long.
Okay.
Maybe it was.
I forget. All the years just blend together.
I'm gonna Google it really quickly because we do have the internet at our fingertips. October, so just over a year ago, eBay acquires TCG Player, October 31st, 2022.
Okay.
So we got Alex in here. Alex, you know him. You know he wants to continue on with the drama. One thing I did intend to say that I forgot to say, but I am still actually a patron of Scott's. I still do listen to his videos, and I normally wouldn't say what goes on behind someone's paywall, but it was discussed in Dan's video that Scott can actually read, and maybe any admin or maybe any owner of the E4 forum can read private messages. I first heard about that a couple weeks prior in Scott's message. I didn't know that. I didn't really deeply use E4, and it's not like I'd be having a lot of conversations I'd be too worried about. But when I heard Scott mention in his own Patreon video, and then Dan reinforced that later on, which obviously I had no reason to believe Scott was lying about that, but Scott straight out said he can read all DMs on E4, which to me is just really weird. Like that is Nostalgianomics wants to hear one bad thing about E4. I think it's really weird. There's probably no way around it. When it's on Pro Boards, that's just a feature of Pro Boards. Like obviously Pro Boards, I'm sure they scan it for like illegal things, threats, and certain illegal. Yeah, we're not going to get into. But so they're third party moderated when you're on a third party forum host like Pro Boards. If you have your own website, I am not a tech savvy guy by any means, but I would imagine there's probably no way to have them not be able to be read by the website owner. Like if you work at a company and you use Slack, which is basically just Discord for adults, your IT department can read and see everything. Same as your corporate email. Your IT department can read and see everything. Whether or not they actually go through them, whether or not actually Scott fans through them. But one of his comments in his thing, actually, like he addressed like somebody that was lying about some offer on some card or whatever it may have been. That caught me off guard. I was really surprised. One, that was even a thing, but maybe that was just me being naive, because now that I think about it, there's probably no way for a site like that to exist where some owner of the site doesn't have that power. And maybe there's an IT person out there that can tell me, no, you can actually have your own website. You could arrange for like some secure, invisible, unmonitored DM system. Probably not a thing, but are either of you deeply into IT and know anything about that or no?
I have no idea. But at the same time, you might have access to them, but you don't have to look at them unless you're a nosy neighbor over there.
The problem is people will read them when it could benefit them, right? Like Dan used the company example, right? When you work, for a company, the IT department can see everything you type into the computer basically, and they're only going to use it if there's a problem, right? So they're going to try to find something to use against you, just like with this case, right? If Scott or whoever wanted to read messages, some instance, they could go back and see if you said anything about it or are lying about something and use it to their benefit. So it is kind of weird, I'd say, to go read someone's personal messages, but people will do it.
And Pokemon Wonder says, let me scroll down to the live chat, and he says, as a software designer, there is a way to. I am not a software designer. I cannot verify, but I have no reason to believe that Justin would be lying to us here. I don't know if the people running E4 are aware of that. I don't know if they are. I believe like PFM, the other Scott, mentioned that he did a lot of the coding and a lot of. I don't know any of that stuff. I don't know if he knows how to do that. I don't know if it was by design or if it was by accident, whatever you want to call it. But it's definitely a weird feature to me. Going back to E4 days, like I never would have even thought about it. In my mind, DMs are DMs. No one else but me and the person can see them. Obviously, the almighty CIA, FBI, whoever monitors all these interwebs things, they can probably see everything, pro boards, whoever it is. But a lot of conversations I had in E4 were like private dealings, and there was information in there that I wouldn't want my competitors to have. And that would definitely, like, if or when in the future I do engage further in E4, I will definitely make sure to never utilize the DMs, like, whatsoever. Because, like, I would not want to arrange a deal and worry that, like, oh, well, maybe someone just reads it, swoops in, and buys the card out from under me. Like, the fact that that can happen just feels strange to me. And if I were, and maybe someone out there is going to listen, if I were E4, I would try, and again, not a software guy. If I created E4 and me just being dumb and not tech savvy, I did it the wrong way and I made it so I could see everything, I would spend a lot of time and effort to make it so that I couldn't. And I would make a public statement about how, like, I'm dumb at computer stuff. I created the website. I didn't know that I had this power, but I have had it, and I'm going to revoke it from myself. Like, I would do that personally. Because me being someone who is dumb and has made his own website, I probably don't know all the things I can do with my website or I've done with my website. Like, Shopify helped me with all that, and it but yeah, that's actually one thing that came out in all this that I was pretty surprised by. I think a lot of other people are probably surprised by it, and I just wouldn't want to utilize like think of it, Discord, whatever it may be. I wouldn't want to utilize a thing where other people, potentially my competition, could see what I'm talking about, what I'm buying, what I'm doing.
Yeah. And if Scott does make a public video on this, which I don't think he will, I can see it now. Him saying, "Oh, I did not know I had this access," which that is gonna, if he mentions that is a complete load of bogus. I mean, but I can vividly picture him saying that.
Let me give you an example.
I'm stupid. I don't know how to use computers. I didn't know I could do this.
Just to push back. Let me paint you a picture and tell me. So on a scale of like ridiculousness, how ridiculous would it be for Scott to make that argument? 1 to 10, like how ridiculous would it be?
It would be completely. I would not believe him for a second.
So a 10 out of 10.
That's a good argument for him to make, because that does.
It would be unbelievable to you,
kind of show
right?
That
it would be a 10 out of 10 unbelievable. It would be 10 out of 10 unbelievable. You wouldn't believe it whatsoever.
I personally would not know.
So here's the thing.
I think there are a lot of people who would believe it.
This is going to include a slight jab / call out to one of our buddies, so it'll be fun. Would you believe me if I told you that there was a person who went to school for accounting, got their degree, worked for a major accounting firm, and spent years in the resale business, not knowing that you didn't have to pay sales tax on items purchased for resale? If someone came out and told you who had that history, who did resale for years while paying sales tax on items for resale, I would not believe them. It would actually be unbelievable. If you told me there was an individual who ships 100 items a day that didn't use a scan form, I wouldn't believe you. It would be unbelievable to me. So I know this is going to be, I'm not defending Scott. I have no horse in the race, no dog in the race, whatever the saying is. I don't actually care. But that's just providing like the opposite side. I think people need to use less emotion and use more logic.
Yeah, I guess like I don't know what it looks like on the back end, right? Like, is there like you click on someone's name and it says read DMs, right? Then yeah, it's hard to miss. I don't know what that looks like, but if you have to go through some thing in the settings where then you type in someone's name and you could search their DMs, then it's completely plausible that the person has no idea.
Yeah, and the thing is, we'll never know. Again, there's three sides. Like we would hear the public statement or the lack of a public statement, whatever. There are certain people that are gonna automatically not believe him, but there is a plausible scenario. Like there's a plausible scenario where, for anyone who didn't get the reference, our buddy ZNG Emporium, if he's listening, let us know in chat. I mean, he spent years in the resale business as a former accountant, not knowing. And Nick has shipped tens of thousands of items and has not used scan forms or had not prior used scan, didn't even know what they were. And I can't believe your postal workers didn't know. I mean, I've heard, one thing I love about PokeFlipz and one thing I love about just talking about what we all do every day, our brains are so wired towards our experiences and our information and our knowledge, we can't even comprehend anything else. Like, how could someone possibly not know that? But like those things, and I remember we recently talked about, like with Squeaks, we talked about packing slips, and I was like the only one using packing slips. Now I don't use them anymore. And talking about like bulk shipping versus shipping one by one. I couldn't believe when like Tekken Sports and Daily Refinement, they ship items one by one. Blew my mind. Like, it doesn't make sense for me. I think my system's better for me. Sometimes it's like, this is better for you, this is better for me. But with like, with paying sales tax on items for resale, there's no right or wrong there. There's no nuance to that. One is the correct way, one is the incorrect way. I mean, that's just like objective fact. And it's just crazy to me how people can get such strong opinions not knowing like so much of the information. That's what makes it all fun, though, right?
I will give you that. I will give you that.
The unsatisfactory answer to that is, because what people would love to do, and I know Alex out there, he would love to, again, yeah, John Smith says, Catch 'em All Collectibles defends E4/SM Pratt with an iron fist, it seems. And then Alex given the double point to it. I defend logic and reason and using that thing in our heads called a brain. There's so many mindless, brainless people out here who just light up their torch, grab their pitchfork, and just want to rabble. Like the citizens of South Park, they don't even know what they're rabbling about, but they're rabbling. It's just crazy to me. Like, it's unsatisfactory that we'll never know. There's only one person who knows the true answer of whether or not Scott knew he could read DMs, whether that was by design or an unintended consequence. There's only one person, and we will never know. We will never be privy to that information. It's unsatisfactory. But one thing that people love doing, people love being the victim of someone else who like harmed them. That's what I'll say. You want, I should turn the lights red, but people like it that the big bad man wanted to harm me, wanted to keep me down. I'm the hero, they're the villain, us versus them, line in the sand, pick your side. I'm just not about that. I'm about like, give me the facts, let me logic through it. And a lot of times there's not enough information. There's not enough information to make any like bold claim. I stay on my fence because there's not enough information to get off and get on either side.
Yeah, I'm completely off the fence. I'm way over in Dan's yard.
I know we make the joke about sitting on the fence, but you don't always have to take a side on everything. And that's goes to what you were saying, Dan. People don't think with logic. They want black or white. There's no gray area at all, when in reality there is a gray area for a lot of things. So
Mr. Walrus says, let's give Dan 1 minute and mute after. I'll try to dial it back some, but sometimes I get a little fired up. Oh, I'm completely lost now that I jumped to the bottom. Poketino says, "Hey everyone, how's it going, Poketino? Who's that sexy guy with no facial hair?"
Oh, well, hello there.
Oh, let's see. I feel like I could
Just
be a
hold on. Yeah.
good.
Just real quick, Alex said agreed, but also sometimes there's right and wrong. Yeah, of course there is. That's why I said sometimes it makes sense to take a side, but you don't always have to, like some people tend to do.
And I will say, in my opinion, like if Scott by design had DMs that were readable by him, and he like maliciously used that, that is obviously wrong. I would be, if I found out after years of being on E4, old E4, UPCC, whatever, Pro Boards E4, if I found out after years that my DMs were being snooped and I was like losing out on deals because I was offering 1900 and then somebody came in and swooped 2000. I don't know that that's going on, but like those are the questions that I immediately go to. Plus, I'm back in the E4 days, like I didn't have an Instagram. That was my only means of communication with a lot of people. I had like private conversations with people about someone having a kid, someone graduating college, buying out, like whatever they were doing, normal conversations you'd have with friends. So again, like if that is a feature by design, honestly, I will say this, just to be more forward, more off the fence, more, if E4, again, I already said I would never use the DM feature on E4. If E4 doesn't publicly come out and state that that was like an oopsie and they're going to do what they can do to fix it, I would see that as a large negative towards E4 intentionally having visible DMs when there is a solution to not have visible DMs. I think that's very wrong to have that design intentionally. The thing I'll never know is whether they did or not. If they come out though and they say that, oops, maybe someone sends them this clip and maybe they give a shit, maybe they don't. But if they were to come out and say, oops, we didn't know that, we're dumb at computers, I mean, again, whether they're lying or not, we'll never know. But if they actually went to make the change to make DMs private, I think that would be a good step in the right direction. And I would see that as a positive. That's my whole take on all of it.
I will say, Brad, if you end up watching this, we could finally take Dan down with his DMs. Finally, our opportunity has arisen.
And I will say, I don't, there's no way that obviously with Discord, I cannot, as the owner of a Discord with a few hundred people in it, I cannot see private interact, like this Discord is like a third party. That's one benefit, I guess. Like if Pro Boards had all these cons of not having all the features, not having mobile, blah blah blah, one pro of having a third party, kind of like having PSA, BGS, CGC to authenticate and grade our cards so that we don't have to agree, parties with bias. Having that third party unbiased host, having Discord as a third party unbiased host in some ways that's not going to snoop on our DMs, like that's kind of a good feature. That's a pro towards the old E4, I guess. But maybe the new E4 can match that. I don't really know. We're getting it all out today.
I was afraid leading up until today because of all the E4 and mystery box drama going on, and I had a feeling it was going to turn into this.
It's funny though, because like not every episode by any means, but there's almost always some big fire burning out there, right? There's almost always some scandal. Like we didn't touch on it, but Java recently had the video about the PSA damage on the corners, and back in the day we had Zhao. Back in like we've had so many different iterations of the latest hot gossip, hot news, hot drama, and a lot of times 2, 3, 4 PokeFlipz episodes from now, there will be something bigger. Maybe this will evolve deeper and go. Maybe this will be like ongoing for a while, but they usually aren't. They're usually dramatic and big news for like a few weeks, and then that's it at best. I FOMO. I don't know if this is towards me or towards Nick. I don't know if PoNGa does any consignments, but he says, question, can you advertise your listings on consignment? Do you have any of iFOMO's cards on consignment, Nick?
I do not.
I don't think I do, but I don't know. So many people go by so many different names. I could have. I don't really know.
I mean, I
But
guess the question could be asked two ways, right? Like, if someone's consigning with you, Dan or Nick, can you actually promote those listings? Which I'd assume you can if you asked for it. Just you'd probably take less money,
I actually
or
have.
the person would make less money. Or
Yep.
go ahead.
I've had a couple consigners who had fairly niche cards that they were worried wouldn't sell. And they said, hey, I know your eBay vault fee's 5%. Can you put a 5% promotion on it and charge me 10%, which I've actually done. So if you're talking about asking, I didn't even think of it that way, but that is something that I've done.
It looks like he clarified. He said James. So I know James does post a lot of like the higher value stuff on Instagram. I don't know if that's like a agreed upon thing with the person or he just picks at random, but he does do some of that.
Yeah, he usually, I think he posts every week. I think on his Instagram, he posts like the 5 highest, maybe a couple times. I think he posts the 5 highest highest bid items at the time. He doesn't even do affiliate links. Come on, James, you're leaving money on the table.
Yeah, he can start charging for that stuff some big bucks.
I think he's doing just fine without affiliate links.
He could be doing even finer. Here we go. Maybe I feel like Nick and I are gonna fall flat here. Mr. Walrus Lake says, "Can someone name a good Komiya art?" PoNGa, are you an art guy?
I couldn't care any less about the artist of the card.
Oof, that's okay. Cancel PoNGa.
Please do.
I don't know.
I
Someone needs
feel
to
the
bring
same way as you, PoNGa.
someone needs to bring some spice to this. So yeah, artists, there's no reason to care.
Exactly.
I largely agree. So
100% agree with you on that one.
I think pkmncards.com can actually search by artist. Yeah. I can't name off the top of my head. I've definitely heard the name a lot. I've not heard the name as much as a lot of them, but yeah, I can't think. Tomokazu Komiya. Search with these options.
They're the one they did the Galarian Slow King.
Oh, the
Alt
Wiglet.
art, Expedition Bulbasaur. It's like a lot of like the colored pencil, like weird arts.
They did Wiglet. The Wiglet's the best.
I thought Quaxley was the best.
Is there a Quaxley? Then that's probably the best.
Well, no. Never mind. Yeah, no. They didn't do Quaxley.
Looks like the first one they did was the Slowpoke from Neo Genesis. Anyways, I think Mr. Walrus was targeting someone with that comment because I feel like someone's a big fan. I don't know if it's Jake Smith or Ernie. Someone's a big fan of Komiya art though, and I think he's targeting them.
I forget how that started. That's been a big that's been a hot topic on the eBay lives lately.
Oh yeah,
which I'm sure you know, Dan, since you watch all the replays.
Yeah, I do. On 0.5x. Let's see.
People don't like my response.
So Java wants to know more about the guest. What's PoNGa's history with Pokemon, and when did he start selling? I don't know if Java was here right at the start, but make sure you go back, Java, and listen to PoNGa's intro. He gave us a little bit, but let's go next level. Let's go a little deeper, PoNGa.
Yeah, when you were born.
Yeah, okay. So I was born, and then I was about 5 years old when Pokemon got big. Yeah. So I've been a Pokemon fan my whole life, and I touched on it a little bit at the beginning. But I was big into the games mostly after I think I said Aquapolis was the last set that I remember having cards from. But played all the games, would buy things like the Nintendo DS just to play the games. And then was huge into Pokemon Go. I luckily live near Chicago, so I was able to go to all the Pokemon Go fests. The first one was an absolute nightmare. You weren't even able to play, but loved being around all those people. So was been a big Pokemon fan, and then to start my business, it really started in early 2020. I started buying a bunch of sealed stuff, opening a little bit, but mostly just keeping it sealed. And then I kept seeing values of things rising, um, and things that I just liked rising in value. And I started to sell some things, buy other things, and kind of started to work my way up. So sometime around mid 2020, later 2020, when the boom was happening, um, I started just buying stuff online and selling it locally. You know, there were those people there were those people that would go to Target and Walmart and buy out the stores. That's not what I did. I would order from an LGS or an online source and sell it to people locally at a good price. I didn't try to rip people off. I always thought that if you rip people off locally, that they wouldn't come back. So I had repeat customers. I supplied a lot of streamers on Whatnot and things like that early on, specifically of Japanese boxes. Back then, people didn't know how to import Japanese product, and a lot of it was super cheap, and you could sell it for double, triple the cost. I think the big one that really started it for me was Shiny Star V. I was buying boxes and a ton of boxes before the Charizard was even announced, and it was just sitting in stock at stores at MSRP or sub MSRP, basically unlimited quantity. So obviously a shiny Charizard got announced, so that kind of blew up. And I was selling those boxes all locally. So to this point in 2020 to early 2021, everything was just local sales. I had the time on my hands. I was working from home a lot. I didn't have any social gatherings due to what was going on in the world. So, go to the police station, make some cash sales, and move on from there. Um, Sometime in 2021, 2022, I kind of got more into the eBay side of things. Really valuing the aspect that you don't have to meet up with people in person and just taking a little bit hit on the profit margins, but kind of built my way up through there and eventually worked my way into graded cards, which I actually don't necessarily enjoy myself. I prefer to collect sealed stuff like I have behind me, and mostly towards Japanese sealed stuff. So um, a lot of people ask me, well, how do you time when you sell things, especially sealed stuff? I just do it based on feel, and I think that's the best way you could do it. A lot of times I look at what I want to buy, and then I look at what I have and say, well, this stuff's gone up by a lot, so now it's time to sell. Um, and that's basically how I built my business. I was a small fish. I was buying 3-pack blisters of things like Unbroken Bonds. I remember the super premium collection from Shining Legends was in stock in Pokemon Center, and like buying one, or Evolutions, ETBs, buying one, and then just built my way up to where I am now, where I'm dealing in cases and bulk deals. But yeah, mostly local, and then moved my way to eBay and now conventions.
I
It is
knew.
possible. You don't need a huge backlog of stuff before the boom to build a business. You just have to slowly do it, have some injection of capital, obviously. I'm blessed to be able to double dip. I have a full-time job while I do this on the side, and that's how I want to keep it. But yeah, you're able to build up and get to where you want to be.
I
How are
knew.
you selling locally? It's like I know
Yeah,
around me, like there is nothing around me. It seems doesn't seem. It seems like I'm like the only Pokemon collector. Me and Jake are like the only two in Massachusetts.
yeah. Well, the first advice is to live somewhere where other people also live. So that's the first
Yuck.
step. But yeah, I mean, it's the thing about it was, I wouldn't say I live in the most populated area. I mean, it's during the pandemic, it was probably roughly 100,000 people in my town. So, um, I would just list on Facebook, offer up those type of sites, and then, like I said, you just build up a relationship with a lot of the people, and they come back and buy from me. I was always able to. Um, I was always able to build relationships with the people I sold to, and was just honest with them, right? They a lot of times ask me, "Is this a good buy?" And if it's not, I would straight up tell them no. And
Mhm.
it sounds dumb, right? You're driving a customer away, but then they trust you. And I always, people would message you and about their polls and stuff, and I'd always congratulate them. And some people would get kind of salty, I think, if they sold a shiny star V box and it has a shiny Charizard in it, right? But to me, I want you to pull that, right? Because then you're gonna come back to me, you're gonna want to buy more.
Yep.
So yeah, I think just building kind of relationships with people I sold to, and then luckily enough, there happened to be some streamers around me as well, and um, I think getting to know the right people as well. I say cash sales in person as well, but I'll use an example as well. When Shining Fates came out, I had a friend from one of the discords I'm in that was selling packs to a streamer, and the streamer was buying them for $10 a pack. So to offload, to offload, I bought a lot of Shining Fates. To offload my position, I sold them to him for $9, and he made $1 a piece on his sale as well, right? So, um, I guess long story short is just building relationships with people and just being honest.
Mhm.
As I said way back in the beginning, primarily scalper.
Well, see, the thing is just this stuff behind me doesn't do my collection justice. So I collect a lot of things that don't. Oh, I guess I didn't get into that side of things. We talk about selling, but collection wise, during the pandemic, I had a goal, and I still have a goal, and I kind of fell out of it a little bit of collecting one of every pack. So I know Nick does the art sets, and he posted those on Instagram and all that kind of stuff. But I kind of was just going to settle for one of each set. So um, I've made a huge dent into that. I mean, I have all the XY sets, I think I have all the black and white besides Dark Explorers. I have basically WotC up until Gym Heroes, and then some E series stuff as well, and some EX stuff. But that's one of my main collection goals. I think one day I'll eventually get to it. Um, it's hard to constantly buy those packs for $500-600. The EX series packs, which is most of the ones I'm missing, knowing they're light, knowing you're not going to get anything out of them, and knowing that selling them in the future is going to be a problem, probably. Um, without my big brand like you guys might have, or relationships to offload those kind of packs. But and then I also collect a lot of Japanese sealed stuff. So I think on this shelf right here, I have a couple of like the Tokyo Pokemon Centered box, the Yokohama box, and then the Kanazawa box, and then the Yokohama box. You can see I have some of the Chinese boxes, which I don't really collect very often, but I mostly just collect Japanese sealed stuff and English sealed stuff. But personal collection stuff is mostly Japanese.
What made you get into Japanese stuff over English?
I just I liked it. That's a simple answer, right? It wasn't anything in specific. It wasn't anything specific. It was just I saw how good some of the texturing on the cards looked. Um, I absolutely love the black and white and XY full arts, um, Japanese full arts. Yeah, but just back in 2020, it was just something that caught my eye. And when I was going through my old childhood collection, I actually had a lot of Japanese cards in my collection, which kind of surprised me. I remember going to a small card shop that was local to my parents' house, and I guess they used to sell Japanese packs all the time because I had a bunch of Japanese singles that I'm really happy I still have. But yeah, I just something about the Japanese products. I mean, I use these boxes as an example. The Pokemon Center boxes, we just don't get stuff like that in English. They're just so
Mhm.
cool. Like the Yokohama box has like I think that's the box that has like ultra shiny GX packs in it, which is really cool. Or like the shiny Crobat box. Like how much better looking is that shiny Crobat box compared to like the premium box we got in English? No one cares about the premium box.
Yeah. Yeah, all the English stuff it looks the same and it looks bland. Yeah, Japanese stuff does look so much better, especially when you're talking sealed. Like Japanese packs look so good. I've been tempted lately to start collecting like arts, all the Japanese packs. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but that would be such a cool collection because the pack arts look so good.
Yeah, and I think I kind of got into Japanese at a good time too. Like I was buying Tag All Stars boxes for like sub $40, Dream League for sub $40. So it wasn't just that I liked it. It was also lucky that a lot of it was affordable when I was buying it.
Hmm. Makes sense.
And it was just on top of just collecting it was a huge business opportunity too. I mean, people were just scared to import from Japan back then. You were able to flip basically anything for a profit.
I had to highlight
Yeah, I wish I
Ernesto's.
was in Japanese before I started. I started very, very late with Japanese, just recently.
I was very lucky
Mm.
with my timing on getting into Japanese stuff. I finished all my English goals pretty much. I opened every box and I got pretty much every chase card in PSA 9 in like 2018, 2019 timeframe. So it was right before or right after 2019 Worlds. I forget if it was before or after, but I made a thread on E4, bought my first Mysterious Pearls, bought my first cards of that nature, bought some Art Academies, and I just got really lucky on the timing of obviously into 2020. If I had been buying WotC as well, I would have done well on it. But I benefited timing wise on a lot of that booming too. I had to highlight
Yeah.
Ernesto's comment.
Uh,
E4 is the past,
go ahead.
F5 is the future. uh,
I will add one thing about myself that Oak brought up, but there was when I first got back into the hobby deep, there was a subreddit, Pokemon TCG deals, and I was pretty active in that, trying to find the best deals. Obviously, you don't have all the knowledge right away, so leaning on those people to tell you what is good to buy or what's a good price on certain items was really beneficial to me. Then that turned into a Discord, which I was just a member of at first, and then basically turned into a mod and admin now, which I think that Discord has like 13,000 people. That Discord now has kind of changed a lot. I don't necessarily always agree with the moderation style, so I kind of separated myself from there a little bit, even though I still am an admin. I'm just not as active as I used to be. But yeah, that's also a fun fact about myself is I do moderate a very large Pokemon community. So
and you read
That's
everyone's
cool. I
DMs
didn't know that.
in that community.
no, it's Discord. You can't read DMs, but you can read when people delete messages.
I don't think I actually see. I'm very boomer. I own a Discord, evil paywall one. Don't you have to have a bot for that? I can read when if mods were to delete anything. If mods moderate, there's a log for that, which I can see. But if you post something and then delete it, I can't see that. I think you can. There are bots that will preserve things that get deleted. I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't do the back end stuff for the Discord. I'm just a participant in it, so that might be the case. I'm not sure. I know for that one specifically, there's an audit log to basically see every action that a user does in the Discord that's public, right? Public actions. So that might be the case.
Which maybe I have that too. Like I think I have a moderator audit log. Like if one of my mods went rogue and started like silencing people, banning people, I think I have it set up so that they can mute people but not kick people. I don't even fully know. But or if they create a new thread, if they do whatever, I can see that. But I don't think I can just see like I'll have to look because PoNGa is a serial deleter. He posts a lot of comments and then deletes them immediately after. It'll just be full of PoNGa.
Yeah, well, I mean that's part of our conversation earlier. You could see why I might want to do that. People will hold stuff against you on things you say, even if opinions or facts have changed.
And I have to jump to it because we've got our buddy Alex. Hold on, stop. You have people moderate the Discord that people pay for. Where does it end? There was one time, and I used to be in your Discord, Alex, and there was. I'll just say it. You're here, so I'm not talking behind your back or anything. Your stance on the whole First Amendment thing is just kind of weird, I think. You had that bot in your Discord that was posting like malicious links. Whether or not anyone was dumb enough to follow them and actually get scammed, I have no idea. But your stance on First Amendment free speech, not deleting a bot and banning a bot, that was really, really beyond silly, in my opinion. Like, one time we had the only instance of moderation in the 2-year plus, I believe we're at now of the E4, not E4, of the Pokenomics Discord. The only moderation we had, an account got hacked, and I believe was posting like links to porn or something. I don't even remember what it was, but I remember I got pinged at like 1 in the morning, happened to be up. So I think I had it so restrictive that the mods couldn't even delete it, or the mods couldn't even hide it or something. So thankfully I was awake. I temporarily muted them, whatever I did, deleted some messages. That's the only moderation that's ever been done. I don't intend to, but I think the stance of like First Amendment, anything goes is pretty ridiculous. If or when anyone got unruly and started dropping like just absolute harassing or scam links, if someone's account got hacked and started posting phishing links like what's going on in your Discord, to not silence that, very thick, heavy air quotes, is absurd. So yeah, very, very light moderation. Most moderation in my Discord is we have a couple mods who were more familiar with me than me with Discord. So they created emotes and they created like new channels and they organized the channels better. So that's the extent of moderation we've had in the evil paywall.
I will say it's very important to have mods. In the Discord that I was referring to earlier, we had one mod. And I mean like certain mods with more access. We had one mod that the owner was the only one that had access to ban or mute other mods. And so that owner was sleeping, and there was a rogue mod that basically banned hundreds and hundreds of people and was just spamming things over and over. So some moderation is definitely important.
Javal says, liar, Dan, you banned me and the homies. I didn't ban anyone. I kicked out non-payers. A bot was hired to do that job. People. A bot was hired to do that job, and it failed to do its job. I mean, I was just the bouncer. I had a robot bouncer. He failed. He got fired. I had to manually intervene, and since then, I believe that the robot bouncer is back in business. Okay, let's find the next. Mason says, I have no opinion on this. Talks for 20 minutes on it. Yeah, Java says you can build a nice YouTube following when you can construct a villain to rally against. It's not even just YouTube either. A lot of people just build their brand around being anti this or anti that, us versus them, just division, and I'm not about it. I'm not a fan. I'm very apolitical, very not into a lot of the things that get people riled up and lead to the most drama in life, because a lot of it is just to borrow a term we always use, bags. A lot of that is just straight bags, not worthy of your time. Ernesta says, question for PoNGa. Do you want to talk? I think I was ranting on too long for a while there, but we got quite a bit out of PoNGa on some of the recent ones.
We got to it. We got to it, yeah.
And I know I see people asking, half the people asking questions that lead us back into the darkness, half of us trying to steer us towards the light. But one last thing. Professor Oak, I know, has some...
Oh, God, let's not bring it up again.
Well, he has some involvement in IT, and he says, working in the realm of fighting bad people online, you cannot make them inaccessible, because that's how you end up being a place for crimes to take place. And I don't know who the host of that website is. I don't know if it's like the only websites I know, like GoDaddy, Wix, Shopify. They don't sell any products, so it's probably not Shopify. But if I, again, this is getting way deeper than we need to get, but if I owned a forum website and I didn't manually, because I don't think Scott or anyone is policing the DMs for like illegal things, FBI type threats. I would think that if it's hosted on GoDaddy would have access into those. So if E4 could seal the box, make DMs be a black box that they don't have access to, someone higher up the chain would still look at them. That's my very unexperienced, non-expert opinion, but I would think that would be a thing. I'll try to end there. Yeah, and Alex says, let Mason choose the next topic. PoNGa says, Mason, ask a question. One thing, and I'll call out Ernie here. We might as well call out people who are here. When people complain about what's being talked about and then don't ask questions, that's what grinds my gears. You guys are the chat. This is a Q&A. Steer us towards the light. If you want us away from the darkness, steer us towards the light. Please, please. I try to not censor. I try to put every question on screen. I take what I get. I mean, I have to skip some memes and this and that, but steer us towards the light. Please.
Steer us towards the light.
I think Dan a couple times says he didn't want to mention names, but he is trying to break the world record for most names listed in a podcast.
See, if I know they're here, it's easier. I'm gonna call out James. I'm gonna call out Ernie. I'm gonna call out. I'm pushing back on Nick when I don't agree with him. Here we go. Ernesto says, question, Nick Old School, do you feel misunderstood on your own podcast?
No, I don't think so. Oh.
Oh, I think
No,
Java...
we have a good time. I would say we have a good time.
Is this just Java asking the same question? What is PoNGa's history with Pokemon and when did he start flipping and building his business?
No, he wants him to get more in depth, more in depth now.
So even more, yeah. More in depth, PoNGa. Let's go.
There's nothing. No, I think that was a repeat question, but
okay.
Sealed, I do a lot. A little different than a lot of people, right? I do a lot of sealed stuff. I enjoy sealed a lot more than binders or graded cards. That's my more in depth.
See, we got James lurking.
And like I said before, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say we got James lurking. When I said he posts the 5 top highest auctions, he actually said it's 10, and he doesn't use affiliate links because he's just a fisherman, not a banker. Sorry, PoNGa, go ahead with where you were going.
No, I'm good. I'm done.
Let's see. I'm at the point we were talking about Komiya. I will say it's 5 o'clock now. We usually go about 3 hours on these. I'm 25 minutes behind chat, so I should be able to catch up fairly soon. If you have questions, feel free to leave them. But at some point, I'm not going to get to the final ones if enough of them come in. We're going to go about another half an hour. As long as you guys are both good, I'll find the next question.
What are your thoughts on Shiny Dragonite? I see someone mention Leaf Green Goblin mentioned Shiny Dragonite. What are your thoughts on Shiny Dragonite? I always found it very weird because Dratini and Dragonair are pink.
And then he's green, right?
Dragonite's green.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
It is weird. I'm a big Dragonite fan.
It's a cool one.
But yeah, Shiny Dragonite is out there. He's a little weird, but he's still my boy. I still like Dragonite, so Shiny Dragonite's okay in my book. What about you, Nick?
Is there a Shiny Dragonite in this whatever? What is this new set called? Paldea Fates or whatever it is? Is that a thing, or are we just talking about if it was?
I don't think that's been shown yet.
Okay. Well, if I do hope it. I hope it happens. Because I absolutely love Dragonite. Definitely top 5 Pokemon for me. So any Dragonite card would be cool for me.
Kind of a follow-up on that. Do you guys enjoy shiny sets in general? I mean, you could go the Hidden Fates, Shiny Fates, or the new set route.
I like Hidden Fates.
I think what was that?
I liked Hidden Fates. I thought the Shiny Vault was cool. Shining Fates didn't hit as hard for me personally, just because Hidden Fates had a lot more Kanto Johto. I'm a Kanto Johto guy, so you get more of those in there, I'm gonna like it more. There are definitely, I'm not like Kanto Johto only. Greninja's really cool. Quaxly's my boy. I mean, there's a lot of good ultra modern Pokemon too, but definitely hits me right in nostalgia if they were in Yellow or Crystal.
I think I think these shining sets are dying. I think this new one's going to be very popular. People are going to love to rip it. I can see myself doing well with it, but um, like long term, I think it's going to be like a Shining Fates type of thing. When we first got introduced to shining Pokemon and the shiny vaults and all that stuff, it was a brand new concept. We didn't have, I guess we kind of did sort of have the tag team alt arts, but we didn't have all this new stuff that got introduced in Sword and Shield with all of the alt arts and the trainer galleries and all these really really good arts. So now I think we're kind of like taking a step back, just going to these basic shiny Pokemon. There's some of the arts that do look good. Like I think the Mew looks really good, but I think overall I kind of like the like Paradox Rift. I love so many of the arts in that set. A lot of the illustration rares and SIRs and all that stuff. I think they look so good. Whereas this new shiny set is kind of, it seems like it's taking a step back in the into what used to be popular. Um, it'll be interesting. It will be interesting.
Yeah, I kind of wish that they would wait till the end of a generation to do a shiny set if they're going to do one. Just have a larger card pool to pull out of.
Yeah, that too. It feels like it does feel like this set is coming very, very early, and where we were kind of just getting into the groove of Scarlet and Violet now. But it does seem very early. But then again, when you compare it to Sword and Shield, like Mason did in one of his recent videos, it is lining up with exactly when we saw Shining Fates. But I don't know. It felt like Shining Fates came later in Sword and Shield for whatever reason to me.
I agree. Towards the end of an era is a better place for them. But I'm one who doesn't try to engage too deeply with spoilers. I am on Instagram. Well, I'm on Discord a ton. I'm on Instagram a little bit. It's impossible. Some people use spoiler tags, but most people don't. So I end up seeing quite a few arts before a set comes out. But I don't know a lot of what's coming up. I don't read the PokeBeach articles about all the spoilers, trying to build the whole set, find out, oh, well, we have this number, we have this number. In between, it can only be Pokédex between X and Y, and it has to be this type. And so they know what the cards are going to be before they get spoiled. I don't really track all that. I'm aware of it. I'm aware that it goes on. And years ago, I used to read PokeBeach a lot more. Back when I was on various forums, I used to read PokeBeach a lot more. But I'm not a big fan of spoilers. Like, I like opening a set for the first time and experiencing the whole set in that fashion. What does SIR even stand for? Is it not shiny illustration rare?
Special illustration rare.
Oh, special. I'm like, which shiny SIRs? I'm like, isn't that just a redundant shiny SIR? But it's, I can't even keep up with all the lingo on like on all the different acronyms for what these cards are even called.
Yeah, they seem to be. They're making it more confusing over time, right? Like at
Yeah.
first they had the trainer gallery, Galarian gallery, what's what, and then now they have completely different set of rarities in Scarlet and Violet, and it's all the same.
I hate how we went from calling Sword and Shield ultra rares are now double rares, and Sword and Shield full arts are now ultra rares. That is still confusing me. I can't stand that.
Yeah, I can't keep up with all the acronyms. We have enough 3-letter acronyms with grading companies. Now we've got 17 different ones for Pokemon card rarities, and I'm too old for
what's
this.
the best grading company?
The one who makes me the most money. So
fence-sitting answer, nice.
Depending on no, it's very much off the fence. Like grading card. I'm actually gonna make a video probably for Monday. It's gonna be a semi-spicy video about grading card companies, and I'm not gonna spill too much of it, but we, the consumers, are the problem more than the grading card companies are. It'll be a good video, I think, though. But yeah, I'm not dead set on any one of them. I think it's weird when people get so like it has to be XYZ company. If you're a collector and it has to be that because that's what you enjoy most, that's not weird. I think what's weird is when someone who does business in Pokemon says that the only way to do business in Pokemon is with XYZ. That's not even weird. That's just wrong. Like, depending on the card you're dealing with, there are better and worse ones. And as far as projecting out into the future, like investing wise, that's anyone's guess. You can make your guess. There's no fault in making your guess on which one's going to be a better investment or that. But as far as like flipping today, there are applications for all three. And I say all three, but there's even more than just three. I have both my chats set to live chat. I hope I'm not missing questions. Because I see Mason was literally talking in all caps. Java asked the same question 5+ times. They tried to steer you, but you're drunk driving. I swear there's nothing in my Gatorade. It's just Gatorade. But I apologize if I'm actually missing questions. Like, I'm trying to go through chronologically. I think I'm getting every actual question.
Dan's getting an early start to the weekend.
There have been times. There's been times where I'm 2 hours into a PokeFlipz and I realize I've been on top chat the whole time, and then I'm just a victim of the YouTube algorithm censoring certain people. But I'm very good now after having done it multiple times. I'm good now about being on live chat. I hope that doesn't filter anything out. Pokemon Wonder says, any plays on the Scarlet and Violet English promos? Are either of you going in deep? I know that some of them are popping off, like the Pokemon Center ETB stamped exclusive ones. Some of those are pretty wild.
Yeah, the Pokemon Center pricing on those promos, I can't believe that. I haven't gotten any of the Pokemon Center promos. Just the ETB promos. I've been breaking down a lot more ETBs than I did in Sword and Shield. And taking the promos, picking the ones that are gradable, sending them off to CGC. Mainly CGC. I've been grading a lot more with CGC lately over PSA, and selling them through the lives, which has been good.
Yeah, I don't do much with English promos, but I do use the Pokemon Center stamped ones to sell. So I know like when the Violet set or Scarlet and Violet base came out, the Violet promo, there was like a 2-day span when the promo was selling for like $60 to $65. So I basically opened them 4 packs to bring to Collecticon, would just sell the promo, and then everything after that's profit. So I was able to sell those packs pretty cheap and just move stuff. And then the 151 Snorlax promo, I was selling those on TCG Player for like $45, and then bringing the packs to Collecticon to have inventory. And basically getting the same amount of money out of it after fees than I would if I had just sold it sealed.
I just threw some wrenches at people.
No plays graded.
I didn't realize we didn't have wrenches in this chat. How have we never had mods in PokeFlipz?
We got Professor Rogue. He's our only mod. The only one we need.
Now we have more.
You don't mod the people. You don't mod the people that need to be modded, is what I'll say. In this channel and your personal channel.
Who needs to be? Come on, throw out the spice. Who needs to be? Who needs the wrenches removed?
People that are there every live.
I just threw some wrenches out there. So everyone type in chat, see if you've been given a new wrench. I don't know if it gives you a notification or not. I think it does though.
You gave PoNGa a wrench and not me?
When I
didn't see you typing.
Typed in there, it didn't show.
Oh, I am a wrench. Okay.
I think you've always been a wrench. uh, let's see. Don't abuse those wrench powers. We don't want to censor people's First Amendment rights. Oh man, we're barely keeping it on the rails in this one. Pokemon Wonders says, does anyone have inside scoop on the raised holofoil? I don't know fully what that means.
So there's I think they said in the well, there's spoilers. Do we want to go there?
Well, let's go for it.
Yeah, I
Okay.
don't care.
Spoiler warning. So there was a PokeBeach article. I think they said there's like, I don't know, like 6 or 8 hyper rare cards with some new raised texturing or something like that. So there seems to be some sort of new type of card, or I don't know if it's going to be like enhanced texturing or something like that. That's going to be coming in the Paldean Fates set. So I'd assume we might know more about it if there's something included in the Japanese set in a couple weeks, but I think that's what he's referring to.
Interesting. I did not hear that. I am terrible about keeping up with what's happening.
Nick, you got to
Yeah.
know what's coming out, man. The Pokemon Center Elite Trainer boxes dropped yesterday. You need to know if you need 5 cases or 50 cases.
I am starting to get into Japanese. Like I'm getting some of the this new whatever shining. I can never remember the set name. Whatever this next set is. I am getting some of those boxes in Japanese for the eBay lives. So that'll be good. It'll be interesting to have Japanese sets and then English sets. I've really never done that before. I did it for 151. I got some of the Japanese 151, and we had the English stuff, but that was really about it for me. So this will be interesting to see.
Skater Nesto with a great question. Thank you for the engagement. Are we buying cards for resale? The name is PokeFlipz. We do buy cards with intent to resell them. We do not pay sales tax on our purchases. Welcome to the podcast.
That's the
Solid
only
intro.
that's the only answer that I think we need.
Yeah. I'll shout out Mason too. I forget what live stream it was. I forget where it was. Maybe it was in a comment section. Maybe it was in Discord. I hear Mason is a free agent, and I hear he's looking to be tied down in a podcast relationship with somebody. So I'm assuming his DMs are open. I'm assuming he's taking applications. Polish off that resume, slide on into Mason's DMs, and get a podcast going. Come on. I'm already in a committed relationship. I'm going on. I mean, upcoming on the 3-year anniversary. I'm in a very committed, happy relationship with old school Pokemon himself.
I'm gonna start the drama. I don't know, Dan. Some of the DMs you sent me, you were kind of trying to replace Nick, and this was like my test run. So I don't know.
We'll see.
When Nick eventually starts live streaming on TikTok next year, maybe he'll leave the podcast.
See, I'm committed, but I don't feel the same commitment out of him. So I'm just I'm preparing myself for what might be an inevitable demise. We'll see though. We'll see. Mason
when I start going 24/7 eBay live.
Mason says, I need a podcast husband, preferably wealthy and good teeth. So there you go. There's his metrics. Feel free to slide on in if you fit.
Pokemon Wonder. I think Mason just found his match.
Huh?
You got to make like a game show out of it. Someone who has to make. I think Professor Oak has done a game show a couple times. Do like I'm not great at what all the old game shows were called. Not like there's probably some game show format that Mason could use to choose his new co-host. He needs to have like 3 to 5 people do some kind of a competition live on YouTube to try to win his heart.
There we go.
I'll volunteer.
Think of all the content. Um, let's see. Alex H says, just wait until we get Pokemon sets to the level sports sets are with 20k plus variants per set. I hope we never do. If we do different rarity tiers, like I think the most we've ever had of one artwork in a set would be like 4. Like a regular V, a full art V, a rainbow, and then maybe an alt art. That's already a lot. I don't care if they do different rarity levels. Like if they want to do something different, but when you have the same card that has like 12 parallels, like 4 is already borderline too much for me. But again, I'm not the average consumer, and maybe most people love it. But that's just my opinion. What do you guys think about like how many variants is too many?
Sports has way too many. I agree with you. I even think like I think of what's the set? Silver Tempest with the Lugia having the ultra rare two of so the ultra rare V, the V star, there was a regular V and the alt art or something like that. There were 4 Lugias in the set, which I thought was too many. Obviously Lugia's popular Pokemon and all that, but I don't know. I'd rather have different stuff than so many of the same cards. So I hope Pokemon never does that.
What do you think on rarity? Again, for me, different rarity levels, rarity tiers are fine. But when you duplicate the same artwork across 8 different rarity levels, is just where it gets weird. What's your take, PoNGa?
Yeah, I think the rarity thing is fine. You know, if there's different rarities within the same set, but just please never bring parallels. Nothing like that. We don't need
Yeah.
that.
I
Please
mean,
don't.
we kind of have it though, right? Like we had rainbow parallel, full art parallel.
No.
That's
That's I think that's a little different. I mean, it's similar, right? But you know, when you start introducing 15 of the same artwork
like just
that just
rainbow
have a different
colored.
color border,
Yeah.
yeah,
Like red refractor, orange refractor, yellow refractor, and so on.
yeah. I mean, like 5, 6, 7. I mean, I think that's fine because I mean, in our sets, like yeah, you'll have a rainbow version, but then there's like an alt art in it as well. So there's a different artwork of the same Pokemon. So you know, I think a couple's fine, but when you start just changing the color of the same artwork over and over and putting it in the same set, that's when we get into a little bit of trouble.
Mm-hmm.
I do need to say this. We have our special live chat member PoNGa with the question: thoughts on Pokemon Duel? PoNGa and I found out we both played the mobile game years back. Anyone out in the chat, feel free to DM me, let me know. I posted a video about it like 2 years ago. I think it only got a couple hundred views. No comments of anyone that played that game. Usually these get a couple thousand views, maybe. 2 hours and 45 minutes in, maybe only a few hundred people will be left. But did anyone play the mobile game Pokemon Duel, which was loosely based on the old battling coins and the trading figure game? Because PoNGa and I used to play, and we wanna relive the nostalgia. We want to talk about it with some people. So yeah, feel free to let me know if you used to play that. Great game. I'll end the ad spot for Pokemon Duel right there. But anything to add on Pokemon Duel? We probably talked about it for like 45 minutes Saturday night in Houston.
Yeah, it's a great game, very strategic. I wish I remembered it as vividly as you do. I still need to go back and find some YouTube videos that'll jog my memory a little bit, but it was a fantastic game and very sad that they got rid of it.
Yeah, there was a single player mode. You could go through like kind of a ladder. There was like an ELO system like chess. Ernesto might have enjoyed it. Kind of like poker in some way, almost like the Pokemon trading card game, in that you would build a deck and then you'd have to battle against other people. Large portion of RNG, but over the long run, there was a lot of skill in it too. So I think the Pokemon trading card game is an apt comparison. Chess is a weaker comparison because like chess is just the better skilled player will win almost every time. More like poker, where the better skilled player will win in the long run, but you can get really lucky and just beat somebody a lot better than you too.
It looks like
Anyways,
we have Spencer in the chat. We have Spencer in the chat that mentioned the Shuppet strat, which I believe is the exact strat that
yep.
I brought up to you when we started talking about Pokemon Doodle. It's probably the most. I would assume people that played it would remember that the most. So Shuppet, you were basically able to move through other figures on the board, and that was definitely something I used.
I see Nick falling asleep, but yeah, my most memorable things. I hated playing against Deoxys decks. Deoxys, there was the speed, the attack, the defense, and the I think speed, attack, and defense, and they could swap. They could swap between them. So when you battle one with a good matchup, they would swap into the one that was a bad matchup for you. So that was insane. And then the Ultra Beasts were miserable. The Ultra Beasts were towards the end before Pokemon Duel was discontinued. But yeah, I love that game. I'm not gonna turn this into the final 10 minutes of the podcast, but I wanted to throw that out there, and I see we did get Spencer, so we found someone at least.
You guys got one other person.
Yeah, hey, 1
I
out
mean,
of 50.
you can make fun of us. You can make fun of us, Nick, but we're the ones having fun over here.
Yeah. um,
This is true. This is true.
Grimer Collect says, odd the Jets make the playoffs. I just Googled what the Vegas odds were. Plus 500 odds, which infers a 16.7% chance of securing a playoff spot. I would probably bet against that if I were to place any money on that right now. It's not looking good, but who knows?
So
I would say
like
they have a better shot than the Patriots.
They definitely have that, yes.
the AFC is just very brutal this year. There's a lot of middle of the pack teams, so they're going to have to. I was just looking up their schedule. They play the
Bills this
Dolphins
weekend.
twice. They play the Bills. They play the Browns, which is going to be a tough game if Rodgers isn't back with that defense. So
Yeah.
they definitely have the opportunity to beat a few teams and jump them in the standings. But
And I mean, they beat the
Unlikely.
Bills, they beat the Eagles, they lost to the Raiders. Like, I don't know what they're doing. They're beating the Jets like they always are. So any given Sunday, they can beat any team, they can lose to any team. As of right now, they've lost one more than they've won. So that's not going to get them in the playoffs. They've got to win the majority of their games ending. No idea. No idea what to expect any given Sunday. Low scoring games, lots of field goals, not much offensive action. That's one thing generally you can expect. The NFL is wild though. Like the Broncos losing 70-0 to the Dolphins, and then a week or two later beating the Chiefs. I love sports. I don't watch a lot of like TV, like sitcoms or like TV shows. I watch a lot more just actual live sports. I so much bigger fan of that.
agreed.
I'm just to the point where I modded a bunch of people. Oh, here we go. LGC_OPC says, how well/poorly do you think tag team alt arts will age? I think they will age well, but I think the insane boom they went on will take some time. I don't really even know today the exact stance they are relative to the highs, but I think a lot of them have retracted a little bit at least. I think they might come down from there, but long term, I think they'll do like relatively fine. Just like anything else, like Gold Star had a bubble that popped, and then they were a lot higher than they used to be. WotC had a big bubble, and then it popped, and they're a lot higher than they used to be. I think tag team alt arts will have a similar trend.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think they're gonna do well. Those will definitely be cards that people remember long term. Yeah, I think they'll do well.
I think Nostalgianomics, not to plug him, but he had a live the other day that was looking at some of the prices because someone brought this up of the tag team cards in sets like Unified Minds and stuff, and some of those prices have already started to come down. But I just think a lot of those cards are just the iconic cards of a generation of of Pokemon, so I think they'll probably still do well.
Hmm.
Ernesto says PoNGa looks like Timon, Nick is Pumbaa, and Dan is College Simba. What?
Oh, it's Simba.
Oh, that's like when he goes out of the man, I watched it not too long ago too. But when he leaves and he's hanging out with Timon and Pumbaa, yeah, like he's
Yeah,
adolescent.
yeah.
Oh god. That's funny.
I don't know how I feel about being Pumbaa though.
Pumbaa's cool.
Oh.
Oh god. Mason's hurting people's feelings in the chat. He said that Squeaks is his ideal man, but he's already been declined. So know that if you opt to be Mason's wingman for the podcast, you're not his first choice, just as I wasn't for Nick. So you got to know.
You weren't the second choice either.
I know. And I'm able to live with it. And going on 3 years later, we're going strong in spite of that.
Yes, yeah.
Let's see. Ernesto says, "Don't forget to send offers today, Snakes. It's payday. Hee hee." Good reminder for anyone to stimulate some sales going into the weekend. It's 5:27. We're 3 minutes from ending. I just got to the bottom of chat. Thanks PoNGa for coming on. Thanks everyone in chat for being here, hanging out today. Anything to wrap up in closing, PoNGa? Nick's probably live on eBay tonight for several hours ripping packs. Go find him there. I did link, I think. Yeah, I linked PoNGa, your Instagram. If you want anything else linked, PoNGa, let me know. I can steer him in that direction. But anything in closing, guys?
No, I don't really post on Instagram, but I do plan on it. I need to make a commitment like Nick did, where you commit to a certain amount of posts. So I need to start doing that. So
don't do it like Nick did.
give it a follow.
Because Nick fell flat.
Yeah, Nick promises things and then always under delivers. So
yep.
No, but I do plan to start sharing stuff from my collection and things that I enjoy on there. So really would appreciate that. But yeah, nothing else to plug. No YouTube channel or anything like that.
Nick?
Live tonight, and then not this Monday, but next Monday, gonna be doing a nice little long Cyber Monday eBay live. So I'm really excited about that. Gonna be doing noon to midnight, so we'll see how that goes. Nice long 12-hour stream. Really excited to see how that goes. I've never done a day stream, so if you guys are around, be sure to come say hi. Make sure I'm still alive in there.
Should be a fun Cyber Monday. And PoNGa, I saw in chat earlier, Alex, Nostalgianomics might have you on at some point soon. Any other guest appearances coming up? I think you have another one you might as well shout out.
Yeah, I think on the 29th I'll be on Bierski's Beer O'Clock podcast. So come watch us there. It'll be a lot of fun.
Kevin's a good dude. Yeah, go check out. Let me link that quick before we close. That will be PoNGa's,
I think it's the 29th.
Likely next appearance. If a mod can help me.
Wednesday.
The first thing that comes up is his live with PK.
I don't think he scheduled it yet.
Okay, I just found it. I'm just gonna link his channel. So there's Bierski Collects channels. I think that will be PoNGa's next appearance on YouTube. So definitely go over there, like and sub. Kevin's a good dude. It'd be a fun chat with him and PoNGa. With that though, yeah, like I said, thanks PoNGa for taking time out of your day to come here. Thanks everyone for hanging out. Happy weekend, everybody. Hope everyone has a happy Thanksgiving that celebrates it between now and our next episode. Maybe get some good Black Friday purchases and all that. But yeah, with that, we will catch you all later.